Hello everyone, I'm very glad that you listened to my story. Please give me a follow and like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment and provide feedback so I can improve the sound quality. Yes, we invite you to listen to part 4 of the series. Chapter 65, Details. Chapter 65, Details. Before Lu Cixi could finish, Zhang Men had devised a more devious course of action. We should test the waters, posting a few hints online about who is the fake heiress and who is real. Then, on Monday, we'll single out He Jing and convince everyone of Xiao Yi's innocence. No matter how influential He Jing is, she won't be able to quash the majority's opinion. Having settled on a plan, Cheng Yi could not be more satisfied. However, to maintain her image, Cheng Yi could not agree to Zhang Man's proposal too easily. Hence, she feigned hesitation and said, "But isn't this wrong? After all, He Jing is innocent." "Xiao Yi, you're too kind." Zhang Men cried indignantly. "That's why He Jing takes advantage of you. Even if you aren't worried about yourself, you should still consider your parents' positions. He Jing deceived them and stole their attention from you. Don't you want to win the title of school belle and force them to acknowledge you?" "Yes," Cheng Yi said in a muffled voice. Lu Cixi interjected, saying, "Xiao Yi, you're not evil. You're doing this in self-defense. You need not have considered such measures if He Jing hadn't forced your hand. He Jing is to blame for come what may." Cheng Yi considered their words, nodding cautiously, "Then we'll do as you both suggest. But we can't repeat this ever again." Zhang Men nodded enthusiastically. "Xiao Yi, don't worry. No matter what happens, we will be by your side. If this plan fails, I will take responsibility for everything. Besides, no one likes me much except for you, you're the only one who treats me with sincerity." Cheng Yi smiled. Man, don't say that. You're a wonderful person. You'll always be my friend." The three of them hugged one another. The three of them discussed the details of the operation and how they would secure witnesses. By the time they stepped out of the washroom, the bell signaling the start of class had already rung. To their surprise, Yan Hanqi also exited the gents at this time. He looked to have washed his hands, his slender fingers still dripping water. Cheng Yi panicked. Afraid that Yan Hanqi had overheard their conversation, she called out weakly, "Student Yan." Yan Hanqi looked at her with cold eyes and no expression. "What is it?" Cheng Yi did not know what to say. She shook her head and thought, if Yan Hanqi had heard us, he would not be so calm. With that thought in mind, she felt relieved and led Lu Cixi and Zhang Men back to class. He Jing had no idea that she was being watched, so she was momentarily stunned when she heard Wu Yu gossiping about what had happened in the corridor. Had such a sequence of events occurred in the original novel? She did not think so. According to her memories, the plot revolved around the real heiress and how she became the most popular girl in school, overshadowing the fake heiress who failed to win and later chose to slander the former in retribution by posting untruths on the school forums. The fake heiress was quickly discovered and publicly shamed for her actions. Meanwhile, the supporting female cast, involving Su Bai and Shen Chuyu, joined hands to muster the votes in their favor. It was only after Yan Hanqi, the male lead, stepped forward to deal with the mess that forced the two to back down, paving the way for the real heiress. After that, the real heiress became the school belle, untouched and unchallenged. It was smooth sailing, with no real bumps on the road. So why did Su Bai draw Cheng Yi into an altercation instead? It was a strange deviation from the plot. Still, it had nothing to do with her, or so He Jing thought. She had not participated in the school belle competition, so what they did or chose to do was of little consequence. He Jing forgot about the matter almost as soon as she heard it. It was not until the afternoon after school that He Jing was reminded of what transpired earlier that day by a post on the school forums. It was a trending topic with an eye-catching title, 818 Qing family's real and fake daughter appears. Peaceful on the surface, but actually, there are undercurrents of grudges and hatred. He Jing had a bad feeling. She clicked on the post and saw that someone was talking about her and Cheng Yi from a third-person perspective, discussing things she and Cheng Yi supposedly did or did not do. It was clearly trying to paint a target on her back. Chapter 66, Stop Playing Around. Chapter 66, Stop Playing Around. The entire post was written like flowing water, and everything that happened seemed to be vividly lifelike. However, the contents of this post was fabricated out of thin air. It described her in a tone that was overtly filled with praise but covertly criticizing, causing many people to hate her. The fake heiress had a bad style in the past, which made this post more realistic. Many people left comments on the post to ask for more insider information. There was also a small group of people who took the opportunity to dig up old scores and received hundreds of likes. In short, the entire post was a large-scale criticism. He Jing felt that this post was strange. Southwest she paid close attention to it. She opened a WeChat window with Wu Yu and sent him 2 messages. She asked, "Can false posts be reported? How are they usually handled?" Wu Yu was a clever little fellow. When he heard that, he immediately guessed that He Jing was worried about the post. He immediately replied with a giggling emoji and replied, "False posts can be deleted after being reported by many people, but the Een High School forum is a place where everyone has the most freedom to speak. Other than using a fake identity to scold the teachers and the principal, it's basically slow for anything else. Moreover, I saw the latest post at the top. It's very popular, which means that many people have seen it. It's useless to delete it. If you really want to deal with it, it's best to open another post to refute the rumors." Of course, whether everyone believed it or not depended on what they thought. He Jing fell silent and continued, "Is there a way to check the IP of the poster?" Wu Yu replied, "Yes, but we need someone who knows a lot about computers. Otherwise, they won't be able to get past our forum's firewall." He Jing frowned deeply and replied, "Okay." She closed the WeChat window and wondered where she was going to find someone who was especially good at computers. She couldn't possibly go to Yan Hanshi, could she? Although Yan Hanshi was omnipotent. Forget it. She would think of a solution when she went back. After a minute of frustration, He Jing decided to put this matter aside for the time being and put her phone in her pocket. After buying the beef meatballs, she went to the entrance of First High School to wait for He Sui and He Ning to finish school. There was no one with the pair that day, and He Sui was happy to see her. He rushed to her like a little piglet out of a pigsty and stared at the beef meatballs in her hand. He Jing had no choice but to give the beef meatballs away. Then, she handed some egg pancakes to He Ning and said quietly, "Second brother, here." He Ning took it silently and turned to look at He Sui, who was munching on the beef meatballs. He pursed his thin lips and returned the egg pancakes. "I'm not eating. Leave it for Xiaogua." He Jing looked confused. She was sensitive by nature and felt that He Ning had become very strange ever since they had quarreled. He Sui finished the beef meatballs and licked his lips in satisfaction. He said, "I realized that it's actually not bad to have a sister like you. As long as you don't anger me, it's fine. He Jing, be good in the future. I'll treat you the way I treat Xiao Yi." He Jingxin said, "Thank you so much," inside, but upon hearing the name, Xiao Yi, she remembered the post on the forum and fell deep in thought. On the way back, He Jing was exceptionally quiet. After getting off the bus, He Sui finally could not help but ask her, "What's wrong with you? Are you unhappy that I ate a few of your meatballs?" He Jing was dumbfounded. Was she such a stingy person to him? After hesitating for a moment, He Jing eventually told him her troubles perfunctorily. He Sui thought nothing of it and said, "Well, I thought it was a big deal. I'll help you." As soon as he said this, He Jing was genuinely stunned. She faltered and said, "You know how to play around with computers?" He Sui raised his chin proudly. "I've seen others do it." He Jing lost her temper. "Fourth brother, stop fooling around. Hey, what kind of attitude is that?" "I can pick it up," He Sui said unhappily. Chapter 67, Learning Computer Science for Her. Chapter 67, Learning Computer Science for Her. Good heavens, the school forum was created by a technical expert. How could he learn it on the spot when it was so difficult? He Jing thought hard about it. In the original novel, He Sui would be involved in the esports industry in the future. He would be an extremely fierce gamer and reach God level on his debut. However, this was too different from checking the IP. He Jing didn't want to hurt his confidence, nor could she reject his kind intentions. She could only say casually, "All right, thank you, fourth brother." He Sui smiled, revealing his teeth. Lend me some money and I'll buy some related books. It's best if you can lend me a computer. I guarantee that I'll get it done within a week. He was actually serious about it. Jing felt a slight headache coming on. Okay, how about 500? I'll borrow a computer from my classmates tomorrow. Sui snorted. 50 is enough. To be conservative, Jing still gave him 200 yuan. Sui pocketed the 200 yuan and said, I won't return the extra money. I'll pay you back double when I have money in the future. I want to buy beef meatballs to replenish my strength. Jing couldn't help but laugh. Fourth brother, you must have been from Chaoshan in your past life. Sui rolled his eyes. Then Xiaoguo loves to eat fried eggs. Don't tell me he was from Jiangsu. Who knows? It might be. The next day, Sui took the 200 yuan to the second-hand market and bargained with someone to buy 5 pounds of books for 100 yuan. Although the books were old and tattered, they were still usable. He happily carried the 5 pounds of books home and began to study hard. Seeing that he was still not sleeping even after the lights were turned off in the middle of the night, Xiaoguo took out a flashlight and shone it on him. With a wrinkled face, he complained sleepily, Fourth brother, I'm so sleepy. Sui didn't even raise his head. Go to sleep if you're sleepy. Fourth brother, I can't sleep with you flipping pages beside me, said Xiaoguo. Sui picked up the clothes on the bedside and covered his head. He said fiercely, hurry up and sleep. Xiaoguo felt wronged. He struggled to get off the bed with his 2 short legs and rubbed himself against Ning's bed. He said quietly, second brother, I can't sleep with fourth brother reading so much. I'll sleep with you. Ning did not answer. Xiaoguo clambered onto the bed and leaned in to look at him. Second brother, are you asleep? Ning opened his eyes and stared at the cracked bedboard with his dark eyes. No, I haven't. Xiaoguo was puzzled, but he didn't bother too much about it. He sprawled on top of him and fell asleep. There was only a light in the room and the faint sound of breathing. Sui buried his head in his studies. After some time, he asked Ning, second brother, what does VPN mean? Ning's emotionless voice rang out, an encrypted communication technique. Sui replied with an, oh, and continued. After another 5 minutes, he pounded his pillow and said angrily, I still have to go to the second-hand market tomorrow to buy an English dictionary. He knew the letters of every word here, but he couldn't understand them when they were combined together. It was infuriating. But don't even think about making him give up. Jing had no idea about all of this. She went to school to borrow Wu Yu's notebook, and Wu Yu agreed readily. When Shen Qiuyu heard about it, she also rushed to offer hers, but Jing tactfully refused. Why, Sister Jing? My computer is definitely better than Wu Yu's, Shen Qiuyu asked, somewhat hurt. Jing replied seriously, it's because it's too good. I'm afraid that I won't be able to afford it if I break it. Who knew what Sui would do with the borrowed computer in the end? She had to be mentally prepared. I don't need that bit of money, so what does it matter? Shen Qiuyu said. Jing thought that to her, it might just be an ordinary computer that could be replaced at any time, but to her, this was a huge favor. She most hated owing favors because things that could be solved with money were not a big deal, and favors were. Fortunately, Shen Qiuyu did not continue to pester her. She changed the topic and asked excitedly, by the way, Sister Jing, tomorrow is the weekend. Where are you going to have fun? Chapter 68, Book a Party. Chapter 68, Book a Party. Jing answered almost without thinking, staying at home. Why? Shen Qiuyu asked. I don't have money. Any transaction that was more than 5 yuan would not be considered. Shen Qiuyu couldn't help but say, I really didn't expect that such words would come out of your mouth one day. In the past, she had spent a lot of money on Yanhanshi. She ate and wore only the best. Jing, on the other hand, had already started calculating the days when the scholarship and poverty relief fund would be distributed. In less than a month, it would time for summer camp. The summer camp was a huge expense, and she did not have that much spare money to spend. She could only plan carefully and save as much as she could. Moreover, the school that Xiaoguo attended had a similar event, so she had to pay the money on behalf of the He family. In the past, He Xiaogua had never gone because the family was poor. He could only watch helplessly as his classmates went off, while he had a boring weekend. Then, on the first day of school, he would listen to his classmates talk about their post-travel feelings, seemingly completely isolated. He couldn't write an essay even if the teacher asked him to. He could only hand in his blank homework and stand as punishment. He Jing thought that since she had already joined and become a member of this family, she wanted to give her younger brother a happy childhood experience. Wu Yu said, "Sister Jing, you're too boring. Why don't you go out to have fun with me and I'll pay for all the expenses?" Before He Jing could say anything, Shen Qiuyu teased, "I think you're trying to woo Sister Jing. Stop dreaming. Sister Jing would definitely rather have fun with me than go with you." At this moment, Yan Hanshi, who had been leaning back in his chair with a math book covering his face, suddenly sat up straight. The book slid down from his face, revealing his languid and exquisite eyebrows. It was a fatal attraction. Shen Qiuyu blushed when she saw this and heard him say, "Next weekend, there will be a new secret room in the suburbs of Azure City. It's horror-themed. Merit student, do you want to take up the challenge?" Shen Qiuyu answered on He Jing's behalf almost without thinking, all right, let's go." He Jing frowned slightly. Why was this fellow coming to join in the fun again? She turned to look at Yan Hanshi, only to see that his lovely narrow eyes were smiling and looking very affectionate. Yan Hanshi casually fiddled with the math book that had fallen on him and said slowly, "I have free admission tickets to all the escape rooms in a city. I can't finish them even if I go there 10 times a day. If you want to go, I can give you a few tickets. You can take it as mutual help between desk mates." The corners of He Jing's mouth twitched. What kind of mutual help was this? She couldn't help but say, "Why didn't you give Wu Yu some?" Although Wu Yu was separated from him by an aisle, he could barely be considered a desk mate. Wu Yu, who was cued, had no words. Yan Hanshi glanced indifferently at Wu Yu and chuckled. "If he wants it, of course I will give it to him." However, his tone clearly said, "If you dare to take it, you're dead." Wu Yu shrank back and immediately waved his hand. "No, I don't want it." He Jing thought for a moment. Yan Hanshi had so many free coupons that he couldn't use them all anyway, and they couldn't be turned into cash. She could use them on his behalf, and consider it prevention of wastage, so she gladly agreed, "Then give me a few." He Sui, He Xiaogua, and the others didn't have any entertainment programs. They could only stay at home. It was a good time to bring them for a workout. "All right," Yan Hanshi said with a smile. He Jing did not take his coupons for nothing. She took out her favorite fountain pen from her bag and exchanged it with him. This pen was worth tens of thousands of yuan each. It was stationery that the Qing family had bought for her and was completely worth the price. Yan Hanshi pulled off the pen cap and smiled. "Just this is enough." The pen cap was gold-plated and looked like a bullet. It was very beautiful. But He Jing was a little speechless. "Then what about my pen? Without a pen cap, it would definitely spoil in less than 2 days." Yan Hanshi actually took the cap off his fountain pen and put it on for her. "Use this." Then what was the point of her giving a pen cap? Wasn't it just exchanging one? However, Yan Hanshi insisted, so she didn't want to argue with him. "Actually, you can borrow things like computers from me," Yan Hanshi said. Chapter 69, The Repaired Computer. Chapter 69, The Repaired Computer. After school that afternoon, perhaps because of Yan Hanshi's male protagonist aura, Wu Yu ran to her and said dejectedly, "Sister Jing, the notebook that the nanny sent over accidentally got wet." He Jing let out an "ah" and asked him with a frown, "Is it serious?" "It's already damaged," Wu Yu said dejectedly. He Jing was silent. This was too unfortunate. He Jing touched her nose and felt a little helpless. "Forget it then. I'll try to borrow it from someone else." Wu Yu felt very guilty and scratched his head. "I'm sorry, Sister Jing. I didn't keep my word and lend you my computer." "It's fine." Wu Yu turned and went back. He Jing thought about He Sui's expression when she returned empty-handed and sighed. Yan Hanshi hadn't left yet. He held his chin and said in a cheerful tone, "Merit student, you seem to need help." He Jing glared at him. "Can you not gloat over others' misfortunes? If it wasn't for his big mouth, she wouldn't have been so unlucky. Why don't I lend it to you? Yan Hanshi smiled. He Jing was expressionless. No. It was obvious that his computer would only be more expensive than Chen Qiuyu's. As if he had seen through her thoughts, Yan Hanshi said unhurriedly, I have an old computer. I secretly bought it with my allowance when I was in junior high school. My father smashed it and I repaired it myself. Although it works, I almost never use it anymore. If you don't mind, you can take and use it, He Jing frowned. Why did your father smash your computer? Yan Hanshi shrugged his shoulders and said nonchalantly, he said that I have to use something that is worthy of my status. Even if it's just a computer, I should use the best. Mr. Yan was so perverse. So Yan Hanshi looked at her with his deep and narrow eyes, and the corners of his lips curled up. To protect my computer, can I leave it with you for a while? He Jing said, you've already given me tickets today. Accepting his kindness again was not within her principles. Yan Hanshi was amused. He Jing, it seems that you don't understand what's a gift and what's helping. A gift is a voluntary act. It's the initiative that leads everything. It has nothing much to do with the recipient. On the other hand, helping is bestowing a favor. In the process of interaction between people, gifting does not seek returns and does not obtain direct benefits. Helping behavior expects long-term returns. In short, both parties benefit. He Jing frowned. Where did you learn all these theories? I made it up on the spot, said Yan Hanshi. Yan Hanshi raised his eyebrows. He Jing, who will help me in the future, do you want to consider? Thanks. You're welcome, said Yan Hanshi. Then, Yan Hanshi made a call and asked someone to send his computer over. He Jing waited quietly with him in the classroom. What do you think about the post on the forum? Yan Hanshi asked. He Jing answered straightforwardly, I'm already thinking of ways to deal with the false rumors and malicious slander. Then who do you think did it? Yan Hanshi smiled. If He Jing knew, would she still be so distressed? She would have directly confronted someone. A person like her would definitely get to it without wasting her breath. Yan Hanshi deliberately reminded her, maybe it has something to do with the school bell election. Why? I'm guessing. He Jing was speechless. She thought about it carefully. If it really had something to do with the school bell election, then Cheng Yi, the person who delivered the laptop, had arrived. Yan Hanshi handed the laptop to her personally, turned around, and waved at her, saying, I'm leaving. See you tomorrow. He Jing pursed her red lips and banished the thought that Yan Hanshi might know the inside story. No matter how powerful Yan Hanshi was, he was not a god. If he really knew, why didn't he tell her directly? It couldn't be to protect her pride. Chapter 70, Sundara Attribute Acting Up. Chapter 70, Sundara Attribute Acting Up. With this thought in mind, He Jing returned home. When He Jing and He Sui opened the laptop bag and took out the computer, they were blinded by a brand new computer. There were no signs that the laptop had been dropped, and there was not a single scratch on the screen. If Yan Hanshi had really had this computer repaired, it was probably because he had repaired it from the inside out, such that it was no different from a new one. So, was this also called repairing? He Jing suddenly felt a stab of pain between her brows. Fourth brother, be careful when you use it. Don't damage it. Otherwise, their entire family would have to go to the Yan family to be nannies. He Sui stared at the computer with shining eyes, as if he had seen a treasure. His mouth was agape as he exclaimed, the students at Yurine High School are really rich. This is the most premium Note Fine series from the DE brand. When I previously accompanied my classmates to buy a computer, I saw that it was priced at 70,000 yuan. He Jing was stunned. So such an expensive computer wasn't worthy of Yan Hanshi's status in Mr. Yan's eyes. Then what kind of computer would be worthy of Yan Hanshi's status? He Jing had completely forgotten that the notebook she used before she transmigrated was from Tilp, an English brand. The cheapest one cost 500,000 yuan. After getting the computer, He Sui entered a state of extreme excitement. He sat at the dining table and touched the computer with his hands that had been washed thrice with dishwashing liquid. He pressed the power button almost piously. Age and time period did not matter when it came to men's love for electronic products. A teenager like He Sui liked to play computer games. Even if he passed by an internet cafe, he would stop to take a look. He Jing sat beside He Sui and watched him play around with it. He was self-taught. As soon as his hands touched the keyboard, he started typing, taking to it like a fish to water. As he tinkered with it, he sighed. This book is too smooth. My classmate's computer jams so much. He lent it to me to play with it once, but I didn't want to play anymore. It's good to have money. I want to make a lot of money in the future. You earn money just to buy a computer? He Jing laughed. He Sui paused and turned his head to stare at her flushed cheeks. He suddenly stuttered, what are you hinting at? Give up. I definitely will not give you my bank card. He Jing was a little speechless. Did she say that she wanted his bank card? Men's brain circuitry was really mystical. He Sui continued, however, if you're obedient, I'll give you whatever you want. I can try to buy it for you. He Jing understood. He Sui's arrogant nature was acting up again. She could only take his words as sarcasm. Saying he wouldn't give her his bank card meant that he would. Saying that he could try to buy her whatever she wanted meant that he would buy her whatever she wanted. Oh, thank you, fourth brother. He Sui glanced at her and felt that her expression was a little strange. He snorted and went back to the computer. He Jing sat beside him and watched him fiddle with it for a while without any results. She was so bored that she yawned and had to stand up. Fourth brother, you go ahead. She had to go return to her room to do her homework. He Sui waved his hand and said, go on, go on. He Jing returned to her room. Although it was the weekend tomorrow, almost every subject teacher had assigned at least one paper as homework. There were 7 or 8 papers in total. He Jing used her spare time to finish 2 papers in school, and there were still a few more to go. Therefore, the lights in the room stayed lit until midnight. When she was done with the paper, she saw from the clock on the wall that it was already 12:00. She calculated that she had taken 4 hours. Her body moved, but her arms went numb. Her entire body felt like it was falling apart. He Jing exhaled and got her clothes to take a shower. When she opened the door, she found that the entire living room was pitch black, and only the dining area was still lit. Chapter 71, Finding Out the IP. Chapter 71, Finding Out the IP. Good heavens, He Sui was actually awake and still at it. He didn't even turn on the lights. He Jing turned on the lights and called out, fourth brother. He Sui was startled. He turned around with his eyes wide open. He stared at He Jing and reprimanded softly, why don't you make any sound when you walk? He Jing had no words. Clearly, you're too engrossed. He didn't even notice that she had turned on the lights. Getting a fright, He Sui pulled at her arm, saying happily, I think I'm about to master it. There were a bunch of road maps and English words on the laptop screen. He Jing couldn't help but wonder, really? Fourth brother, don't lie to me. He Sui was angry. Who are you looking down on? I can crack your lousy IP in 10 minutes. He Jing was flabbergasted. He Sui, who was supposed to be an esports big shot, was actually a computer genius. Seeing her stumped expression, He Sui said proudly and happily, you didn't expect this, did you? Humph, you're looking down on me. I have an IQ of 280. Please pander more to me in the future. I'll help you solve any problems. He Jing was silent for a moment upon hearing that. Then, she asked, fourth brother, do you want to have your own computer? I'll buy one for you. Such a talented player should contribute to the country. Why would he play games? It was simply a waste. She would buy it for him even if she had to sell everything so that he could make a name for himself as soon as possible. Putting everything else aside, she could not bear to see talent being buried. He Sui was stunned by her sudden generosity and was dumbstruck for a while. Then, he said coolly, no, I don't want you to buy me anything. As a man, he should work hard to earn money to buy what he wanted. He Jing said, no, you have to have this computer. Tomorrow is the weekend. We'll go to Computer City. Although they were poor and couldn't afford a 70,000 yuan computer, 2,000 yuan was no problem. the configuration was a little low, so they could make do with it for the time being. Heiress turned around. Something clearly shifted in his gaze, but his strong self-esteem did not allow him to nod, so he looked particularly awkward. I already said, no. You can write me an IOU. Heiress said, I know you can definitely return it. Young people could often be swayed. Faced with the temptation of a computer, it was very difficult to resist. Heiress did not say anything for a moment. He did not say whether he wanted it or not, but Heiress knew that this matter was in the bag. Without waiting for Heiress to speak again, Heiress said, then it's a deal, we'll wake up early tomorrow and go to the city center together. Heiress held it in for a long time before saying, I'll write an IOU later. I want to make it clear that you wanted to lend me money to purchase it, and not that I wanted to borrow from you. When Dad and Mom ask about it, don't push the blame to me. And don't hold this over my head when we argue in future. Heiress was flabbergasted. Fourth brother is quite thorough. Of course. Heiress became complacent again. Heiress shook her head in amusement. Since there's still a little bit left to crack that IP address, then you should first sleep today. I'm going to take a shower. Heiress was still immersed in the excitement of getting a new computer the next day. How could he still sleep? He hurriedly said, go and wash up. I'll be done after you finish. Heiress obediently went into the toilet. 15 minutes later, Heiress managed to decipher the IP address of the poster. Heiress was not surprised when she saw that the IP address of the poster on the laptop was from the second grade's class 3. Her guess had been right. Chapter 72, The Truth is Out. Chapter 72, The Truth is Out. In order to prevent any mistakes, Heiress asked Heiress, fourth brother, is there any way to confirm who this IP belongs to? Sure, Heiress said confidently. This account has been registered for a long time, and there are very few posts and logins. I can help you check the IP address she logged into last time. If it's different from this address, it's most likely her home address. You can take this address to your class and ask who lives nearby. The error won't be more than 5 meters. Heiress nodded and sat down beside him, watching him make checks. After a while, a new IP address popped up. The address was Tranquil District on a city Cypress Road. Heiress sent the address to Wu Yu and asked him, do you know who lives here? Wu Yu sent a puzzled emoji and asked, it's so late and Sister Jing is still awake. Isn't this young man's address? Sister Jing, how did you get it? Very good, the truth was out. Because Subai was unhappy that Cheng-Yi had more votes than her and was looking for trouble with her, Cheng-Yi's best friend, Zhang Men, saw injustice and tried to help her, so she came up with a plan to attack her. She deliberately made such a post to prepare everyone. When the time came, everyone in Yin High School would support Cheng-Yi, and she wouldn't be able to clear her name. Fortunately, she was alert and discovered it in advance. If the fake heiress was here, she would probably adopt a lofty attitude and ignore it. She might even hate Cheng-Yi even more and say something in public, confirming the crime described in this post. Heiress replied to Wu Yu with a, thank you, it's nothing. Then, she browsed through all the posts under this account. Other than slandering her, half a year ago, she had also anonymously sullied the reputation of a relatively pretty classmate. She implied that she was an illegitimate daughter who was coquettish and had hooked up with a rich man. In short, the content was very ugly. Heiress took down all of this as evidence. Then, she opened the forum on her phone and found that the post about the real and fake heiress's feud had been hyped up more than 2,000 times. Just a minute ago, another unfamiliar account had posted a new post, exposing her and Cheng-Yi's bad blood. She clicked on it and saw that the tone was roughly the same as the previous post owner, praising her openly and criticizing her secretly. There were more than 20 replies scolding her in a refresh. Heiress looked at these comments that were scolding her and was extremely calm. She said, fourth brother, please help me check the IP address of this newly registered account. Heiress said, Okav. He became more and more familiar with it and quickly analyzed the IP address of this new account. As expected, it was also Cypress Road's Tranquil District. Zhangman was not in school at this time, so she could only post from home. With another layer of strong evidence, Heiress felt that there was no need to investigate further. She said to Heiress, thank you, fourth brother. Go to sleep. I'm going as well. Heiress glanced at the screen full of abbreviations on the post and felt that something was amiss. He asked, who are this CY and HJ? How did they start fighting? And this Candid Ha's avatar, why meddle in other people's business? What does it have to do with her? Why did she post it? Why did you investigate her? The air in the living room suddenly froze. Heijing lowered her eyes and said bluntly, CY is Cheng-yi, HJ is me. The person with the Candid Ha avatar is Cheng-yi's good friend. Heiress was dumbfounded. What? Chapter 73, Publicly Protect Her. Chapter 73, Publicly Protect Her. Heijing raised her head and looked straight into his eyes. She said calmly. Cheng-yi's friend deliberately made a post to defame me, so I have to investigate clearly and clear my name. Impossible, Heiress retorted subconsciously. How could Xiao-yi be friends with such a bad person? See for yourself, Heijing said. Heiress clicked on the post and read it carefully. The first sentence was, I'm an ordinary student at High School, a passerby who has nothing to do with this post. Ever since the real heiress of the C group transferred to our school, I realized that our school has changed a lot. Firstly, it's not as peaceful anymore. Then, the post used a long story to describe why the school was not as peaceful anymore. It made a seemingly objective comment on Heijing and Cheng-yi, but the wording she used on Heijing was especially sharp. At first glance, it didn't seem like much, but after reading it carefully, one would unknowingly think, why is Heijing so annoying? When he looked at the comments again, there were all sorts of curses. I didn't expect HJ to be so dirty in private despite looking so noble. It's not easy to understand the inner workings of one's mind. HJ may look pure, but has an evil heart. Poor CY. After so many years of hardship, she's still being targeted by HJ. HJ is a fake heiress. Why didn't she transfer schools? How could she be so shameless as to stay on at High School? It's really unimaginable that her skin is thick to this extent. Heiress was enraged. No matter how overboard Heijing treated Cheng-yi, it was still between Heijing and Cheng-yi. What right did outsiders like them have to comment on it? Besides, many things looked fake at first glance. Did they have any brains? For example, Heijing deliberately slandering Cheng-yi. With Heijing's temper, she would only slap whoever offended her. Who would be so petty with you? Also the clothes of the Cheng-yi. She secretly used Cheng-yi's cosmetics. She was badmouthing Cheng-yi in front of her male classmates. Before Heijing could prepare a long speech to gain more trust, Heiress exploded. What AF * king moron. I'm going to hack this post. Heiress turned his head again. Just you wait. I'll help you hack this post and paste the poster's IP on the front page of your forum so that others can admire it. I'll go to your school on Monday to look for Xiao-yi and forbid her from interacting with this man or whatever. She's simply a maggot hiding behind the internet. Heijing's eyelids twitched and she quickly stopped him. Don't, fourth brother. I've already gathered the evidence. I'll deal with this matter on Monday. You'll be held accountable for hacking the post on the school forum, and others will only think that I'm having a guilty conscience. Most importantly, she didn't want to alert the enemy and wanted to see what Cheng-yi's next move would be. Her intuition told her that what Yan Hanshi had said was probably true. Heijing persuaded Heiress for a long time before he finally went to bed. When she looked at the forum again, she suddenly realized that Zhang Man's new post had been issued a warning about being blocked. Although it was still there, replies were forbidden. This time, the people of High School could no longer sleep. Even the gossip group appeared and posted a new post with a question mark, what's going? One person replied, brother, she has stepped in. The forum rules have just been updated. It says that the forum forbids discussion of students' private matters. What the heck is going on? When the gossipers saw the replies, they all clicked on the thread about rules at the top of the forum. They scrolled to the bottom and saw that there was really such a rule. This. Another person came out and said, no way, no way, no way. Don't tell me that there are still people who don't know that brother she is one of the administrators of the school forum. Back then, this forum had technical problems, but brother she helped to set it up. He was the only student among the 5 administrators. A bunch of people replied, then what does he mean? He's openly protecting. Chapter 74, what do you think? Chapter 74, what do you think? Within 30 seconds of asking this question, he actually got the answer from the main character. Yanhanshi, yes. The others kept quiet. What a joke. They didn't dare to not accept it. Yanhanshi was a god in Een High School. He would protect whoever he wanted to, even if that person was He Jing. At this moment, an audience member who had been keeping a clear head among the haters came out and commented, "Brother, she has never been biased. I think He Jing has been accused unjustly." That poster said so much yet didn't even dare to reveal his real name, obviously having an ulterior motive. Shen Qiuyu, who was obsessed with helping He Jing tear apart the haters, immediately voted in support. That's right. I've already gotten someone to check the IP address. I want to see which little b*tch is slandering my sister Jing. In a huge villa, the young man who was lying on the king-sized bed took a sip of red wine and slowly typed a line of words on his phone. Refresh the page. This forum has opened a real name mode of leaving messages. At the same time, the forum is undergoing emergency maintenance. Your previous posts and replies cannot be deleted for the time being. Instantly, the forum was in chaos. Everyone scrolled down the interface and refreshed it. Their names appeared on the screen openly, as if the last layer of a half-naked person's loincloth was torn off. Following that, the forum was filled with bloodshed. There had been many posts stirring trouble on the forum in the past. Those who had been wronged and been cursing each other to the point of wanting to kill each other's families quickly went to see who the other party was. All right, he could stay up all night now because he couldn't even finish eating the popcorn as he watched the show. At the same time, in Cypress Road's tranquil district, Zhangman was as anxious as a cat on a hot tin roof. She kept sending messages to Cheng Yi, asking what to do. Although her two accounts did not show her real name and she was still safe, Shen Qiuyu said that she wanted to check the IP, so she would definitely find her. Why did brother she step forward to help He Jing? Did he hear about it in the toilet last time? Cheng Yi did not know that her expression was also very ugly. Cici sent a message saying that it wasn't that, and asked the two of them to calm down. If Yanhanshi had really heard it, he would have done more than that. Based on his temper, they would have been punished by now. Then what's going on? Didn't brother she never get involved in these trivial matters? Brother she must be interested in He Jing, that's why he's willing to come out and help. This result was even more difficult for Cheng Yi to accept. Wasn't Yanhanshi someone who wouldn't easily fall for anyone? How could he fall in love with He Jing? What should she do then? Mrs. Cheng had said that they were engaged. Are you listening, Xiao Yi? Cici exclaimed. Cheng Yi responded and woke up from this fatal blow in a daze. She asked. Zhangman, have the names of the two accounts you posted from been found? No, Zhangman said. I'm only using a clone account. I didn't use my real name, so I'm safe for now. Cici said, that's easy. We'll find someone to make brother Shi and He Jing's relationship ambiguous. Our post was so popular previously, and we've achieved our goal. Even if brother Shi stands up for He Jing, most people will believe us. As long as we produce a witness on Monday, we can cover up the matter of buying votes. We'll think of a way to deal with Shen Qiuyu. Cheng Yi was a little unwilling. Why was He Jing's name placed together with Yanhanshi's name? The Qing family and the Yan family had a marriage alliance, so she and Yanhanshi should be a couple. But now that things had come to this, this was the only way. Hence, Cheng Yi found Sun Chaoyang, the boy, who had previously expressed his love for her, and decided to let him be the one to stand out for her. She sent him a few messages. 5 minutes later. Sun Chaoyang, do you like He Jing? At Yanhanshi. Everyone held their breath, unable to believe their eyes. Yanhanshi was a misogynist. How dare he ask him such a question in front of everyone? You're courting death. However, Yanhanshi didn't get angry at this fatal question. Instead, he got an answer. Yanhanshi, what do you think? Chapter 75, might as well say he's gay. Chapter 75, might as well say he's gay. No matter what Sun Chaoyang thought, they didn't think so. Heaven knows how long He Jing had been pursuing Yanhanshi, but Yan Hanshi was unmoved. They had been deskmates for almost a week, and there had been no ambiguous activity. Now, he was protecting her, perhaps because he felt guilty and felt that he should help her out since she had been pursuing him for so long. Liking He Jing. Might as well say that he was gay. However, some people felt that Yan Hanshi's ambiguous words were actually an admission. With Yan Hanshi's personality, he would only reply with a scram when he heard such an offensive question. How could he have such an ambiguous attitude? Sun Chaoyang completed the task according to Cheng Yi's instructions and quickly replied to Cheng Yi. Cheng Yi was not satisfied with the screenshot, but that was that. She had already prepared for Monday's comeback. She wanted to save herself from the whirlpool of public opinion. Zhang Men was unreliable. She had asked Cece to find a witness and pay a lot of money to keep his mouth shut. To frame her, when the time came, he would insist that the money was given by He Jing, and that she had asked him to help her boost the votes. He Jing knew that she could not be elected as the school belle, so she wanted to drag her down with her. He Jing would never be able to explain herself. The remaining one was Shen Qiuyu. Cheng Yi had a private chat with Cece because it was inconvenient for Zhang Men to know the content. Cheng Yi, what about Shen Qiuyu? She'll find out the IP sooner or later, and Man won't be able to keep it secret. I don't want Man to get hurt because of me, and I don't want to see her transfer schools. Lu Cece, brother, she hired a technical expert to build the school forum. It's difficult for ordinary hackers to break through. Shen Qiuyu will find out the IP address at least 3 days later. By then, the spotlight on the vote buying will have passed. We'll get someone to post to divert attention from Man and not let her transfer schools. Cheng Yi, what if Yan Hanshi makes another move? Yan Hanshi had found a technical expert to build the forum, so there must be a way to crack it. If he was determined to help He Jing. Cece, that proves that brother she likes He Jing, which is why he spared no effort. Even if Man transfers schools, this matter won't affect you much. As long as He Jing's jealousy of you can't be cleared, you'll be innocent. Cheng Yi reluctantly put aside her worries and slowly calmed down. On the weekend, He Jing brought He Sui to the city center to buy a computer as promised. The corners of He Sui's mouth curled up, and he did not stop smiling all the way. He brought his new computer home, attracting He Xiaoguo's attention. Even He Ning looked at him with a slightly moved expression. For some reason, He Jing could clearly sense that He Ning was a little gloomy. Their gazes met. He Ning silently stood up and returned to his room. He Sui followed him with his laptop and started playing. After a while, He Sui was chased out, but this did not stop him from playing on the computer. He continued to do so at the dining table in the living room. It was as if he wanted to treat this computer as a family heirloom. It was beyond precious. He Jing found it funny and could only let him be. She glanced at the calendar on the wall and realized that He Ning's birthday was coming up. What should she buy for He Ning? In the blink of an eye, it was Monday. Monday was a big day for Ean High School because they had to raise the flag that day and watch a group movie in the afternoon. He Jing was the new student counselor of the second grade's class 3. She had been appointed as the flag raiser early in the morning and was responsible for raising the national flag. Zhang Man's was filled with jealousy when she saw this. She could not help but say, Xiao Yi, such a good opportunity should be yours. Cheng Yi smiled. Don't say that. He Jing is very outstanding. Zhang Men snorted unhappily, but when she thought about how He Jing's reputation would be ruined in the afternoon, she secretly looked forward to it. Chapter 76, A Storm is Brewing. Chapter 76, A Storm is Brewing. The other students had just finished a few big shows over the weekend and were looking forward to Monday's show the most. There was plenty of discussion as they looked at He Jing's slender back. Do you think it's true? He Jing is jealous of Cheng Yi and secretly did something bad to her. I think it's true. It's easy to go from rags to riches, but not the other way around. I heard that Cheng Yi's previous family was poor. I don't believe He Jing wouldn't feel resentful switching over. I don't believe it either. Almost 80% felt that the post contents were true. Some even suspected that Cheng Yi had opened a clone account and said it herself. Even though Yan Hanshi had sealed off the forum, it didn't stop them from fantasizing. Some of their thoughts were even worse than what was written in the post. After a while, an inexplicable atmosphere fell over the entire school. They looked at He-Jing with a piercing gaze. I didn't expect her to be such a person. It's so terrifying. To think, brother, she is helping her, it's simply incomprehensible. I hope she can drop out of school as soon as possible. Our school doesn't welcome such a black-hearted peasant. Shen Qiuyu exploded in anger and stopped the gossiping boys. Shut up, all of you, shut up. He-Jing was not that kind of person. Even the He-Jing of the past was arrogant and disdained to do such a thing. They were sworn enemies and knew each other best. Unexpectedly, the boys did not dare to refute her on the surface. After she walked a few steps away, they whispered behind her, Shen Qiuyu is also a moron. I don't know what she admires about He-Jing. All she knows is to stay around He-Jing. She might as well chase after brother she like in the past. Just as Shen Qiuyu turned around in anger, she saw the boys' expressions change drastically. They stared into the distance and stood up straight. Brother she. Shen Qiuyu turned and saw Yan Hanqi standing not far off with a smile, but the smile did not reach his eyes. He said lightly, if you're so free, why don't you clean the toilets? The words he said were worse than the stones in the toilet. The boys almost ran away, not daring to say another word. On this day, all the students were sleepwalking in class. They did not even listen to what the teacher said. They were only thinking about the upcoming group viewing. Cheng-Yi put on light makeup and was ready to face everything. It was finally 3:30 p.m. The students walked excitedly to the recording room like kids in a candy store. Subai didn't disappoint them. She had been waiting there for a long time. When Cheng-Yi and her two best friends entered, they saw her standing on the stage. A small table had been placed on the stage, and the large and clear screen behind it could be controlled to play audio and visual materials. Subai tossed the USB drive in her hand and looked at Cheng-Yi from afar with a confident smile. Cheng-Yi also smiled appropriately. At this moment, someone asked, "Where's He-Jing? Why isn't He-Jing here?" No way. Such a good opportunity to watch Cheng-Yi's show and she doesn't want to watch. In less than half a minute, the crowd started to make a ruckus again. She's here, she's here. He-Jing is here. He-Jing came late because she had been called to the office by a teacher. The teacher was also very interested in the goings-on in the forum, and so asked her a few questions. Of course, He-Jing answered truthfully. The teacher also felt that it was meaningless upon hearing it. After offering a few words of comfort, she slowly walked to the video recording room. He-Jing was expressionless when she saw Cheng-Yi and Subai's stance. However, Cheng-Yi suddenly averted her gaze and looked at her, the smile on her face deepening. He-Jing sneered to herself. If she had any schemes, she would probably be disappointed. Chapter 77, Public Execution. Chapter 77, Public Execution. At this moment, Subai suddenly called out, "He-Jing." Everyone looked at her. "Why don't you play the video in this USB drive?" Whoa. There was a collective gasp. This was really playing with fire. Subai had obviously seen the post on the forum and was deliberately stirring up trouble. "No, thank you," He-Jing said lightly. Even if she didn't get along well with Cheng-Yi, she wouldn't take the initiative to step forth as cannon fodder. It would only make her die faster. Subai didn't expect He-Jing to refuse. Her expression changed and she was about to get angry, but when she thought about how her opponent was mainly Cheng-Yi, she held back her anger. Soon, the entire recording room was filled. Almost all the teachers and students had arrived. Subai picked up the microphone on the table and tapped it. Then, she shouted, "Hello," to attract everyone's attention. The show was about to begin. The students were not supposed to go on stage and touch these expensive equipment, but no one came forward to stop them. Just like that, Subai had ample time to express herself. She said, "Hello, teachers and students. I'm Subai. I'm sorry to take up 5 minutes of everyone's time. I want to show everyone something." Zhang Men sat beside Cece and became nervous. She asked softly, "Will there be any problems?" "Don't worry, there won't," Cece said. Cheng-Yi stared at the huge screen on the stage and saw a PowerPoint presentation that had been prepared in advance. The PowerPoint was very concise and clear at a glance. The first picture was a graph. There were a few colored lines on the graph, representing the few girls who were running for the school bell, including He Jing. Several lines rose separately. The one representing He Jing rose the fastest, followed by Su Bai, with Cheng Yi at the bottom. Then, He Jing stopped rising and disappeared from the chart, indicating that He Jing had withdrawn from the election. Then, Su Bai's rose at a constant rate and was firmly in first place. However, after less than 2 hours, Cheng Yi, who was at the bottom, began to rise explosively. Others' growth rate changed every hour, forming an undulating curve, but hers was in a straight line. In an instant, she surpassed Su Bai and reached the peak. After surpassing Su Bai, her speed did not slow, continuing to rise in a straight line and widening the gap between her and Su Bai. The number of votes in second and third place combined was not as much as hers alone. Anyone who wasn't stupid would know what this meant. Then, the PowerPoint moved on to the second diagram. The voting usernames kept jumping. Every username was newly registered. It did not take more than 2 seconds to crazily vote for Cheng Yi. If the first diagram couldn't determine that Cheng Yi was cheating, then the second one would be a death knell. The crowd was in an uproar, and they could not sit still. Ein High School was a place that valued fairness, and cheating was absolutely not allowed. A transfer student so rampantly buying votes in the school was definitely a provocation to the established rules of Ein High School. This is too shameless. If you can't win, you'll play this game. The Su family is so rich. If Su Bai wants to buy votes, she can get any number she wishes. No wonder Su Bai was so angry after seeing the rankings. I've seen confident people, but I've never seen someone as confident as she is. She really thinks she's the most beautiful woman in the world. She can't even compare to He Jing. I suggest removing her ranking and directly choosing Senior Su Bai as the school belle. Cheng Yi, can you give an explanation to me and the other students who are running for the school belle? Su Bai lips curled up. Chapter 78, I have a witness. Chapter 78, I have a witness. A beam of light shone on Cheng Yi. Everyone looked at Cheng Yi with ridicule and disgust, but Cheng Yi seemed unaffected. She stood up and said elegantly, I didn't buy the votes. Who would believe that? If there was no vote fixing, how could all of this be explained? As if she had rehearsed it thousands of times, Zhang Men skillfully stood up and spoke up for her. Xiao Yi is so honest, it's impossible for her to buy votes. Someone must have deliberately framed her. Su Bai said, oh, that's interesting. Who would be so stupid as to frame someone by spending money to buy votes to promote her to the position of the school belle? Who else could it be? It must be he, Zhang Men scoffed. Silence. She deliberately did not finish her sentence, but the teachers and students had already understood. Thinking back to the post about the real and fake heiress, thoughts began to run wild. Perhaps she was really framed. Man, don't talk nonsense without evidence. However, I really didn't buy votes. If Su Bai insists that I used unfair means to compete, I'm willing to withdraw from the school belle election to prove my innocence. Cheng Yu spoke out at the right time. Her words were well thought out and instantly won many over. Immediately, the entire recording room was filled with whispers. I suddenly feel that Cheng Yi might have been framed. Cheng Yi is already very outstanding. It's unfair that no one voted for her because she's just transferred over. Su Bai has already been the school belle for a term, and she still wants to start a fight. How graceless. He Jing is so hateful. Why hasn't He Jing dropped out of school yet? I can't stand it anymore. What's so great about having good grades? Brother, she is still protecting her. Brother, she is really blind. The beam moved from Cheng Yi to He Jing, who was exceedingly calm. She didn't even frown. Instead, Shen Qiuyu stood up and shouted angrily. Whoever hit the lights, get it off. This has nothing to do with Sister Jing. At this moment, Cici stood up and said shockingly, this matter has something to do with He Jing. I have evidence. Not only Shen Qiuyu, but Su Bai was also stunned. Her PowerPoint presentation was not finished yet, and she was actually hesitating if she should continue. Obviously, everyone's focus was on He Jing now. They heard Cici emphasize, I have a witness. In an instant, the pitch-black hall was in an uproar. Cici said, as Cheng Yi's best friend, I've always been very concerned about Chinese matters. After noticing the abnormal increase in votes, I had my doubts about it, so I specially investigated. I didn't expect to discover something extraordinary. As she spoke, she picked up her phone and made a call. She said concisely, "Bring him over." After hanging up, she looked at everyone and said calmly, "Everyone, please wait patiently for a while. The truth will soon be revealed." A boy stood up and said sarcastically, "He Jing, don't you have anything to say?" He Jing looked at the boy who spoke, Chinese admirer, Sun Chaoyang, and calmly asked, "What do you want me to say?" Sun Chaoyang said, "To think that you could even think of using the school rules to frame someone. He Jing, you are indeed a genius. However, our Yin High School does not welcome you. Please get out." His words were powerful and resounded loudly. Many were incited and shouted, "Get out." The teacher saw that the situation was getting out of control and quickly came forward to deal with it, telling everyone to calm down, but no one listened. Chapter 79, Self-Defeat. Chapter 79, Self-Defeat. It appeared as though the situation was about to get out of hand. Someone threw something at He Jing. It was an unopened mineral water bottle. Wu Yu, who was sitting in the front row, exclaimed, "Sister Jing, get out of the way." He Jing remained motionless as if she was frightened. At this moment, time seemed to have stopped. Everyone thought that a murder was about to happen. However, bang! The mineral water bottle was kicked away. Almost no one saw how He Jing moved. They only saw the mineral water bottle fly back in the direction it came from. The bottle accurately hit the forehead of the person who threw the bottle. The person was knocked unconscious on the spot. In an instant, everyone gasped, and the hair on their back stood on end. He Jing glanced coldly at the dumbstruck students. Her voice was still soft and pleasant. "My apologies, but I won't apply to drop out of school, nor will I leave this school. Who would dare to bring this up?" The clamoring voices from before seemed to fade visibly. Sun Chaoyang also became as quiet as a mouse. Zhang Men stammered, even if you use force to threaten us, you won't be able to change the truth." "The truth will indeed not be changed." He Jing glanced at her coldly. "But it's hard to say what exactly happened." Suddenly, Cheng Yi had an extremely bad feeling. She secretly tugged at Cece's sleeve, wanting her to ask the witness not to come. However, before the two of them could communicate, the witness that Cece had bought over arrived. It was a wretched-looking young man and he didn't look honest. Cheng Yi had no choice but to shut up and let this act continue. She silently prayed that nothing would go wrong. Cece walked forward and said to the witness, "Tell everyone what you told me 2 days ago." The witness memorized the script very professionally. When Cece asked, he immediately revealed a troubled expression and said, This isn't too good. I've already accepted the money. I can't go back on my word. Do you want to see an innocent girl being framed?" Cece asked. "I heard that you used to be a security guard at Yin High School. You should know how difficult it is to join the school." This. "If you are willing to tell the truth, I will pay you double." The witness finally showed a hint of interest. He opened his mouth hesitantly, as if he was looking for courage to bravely expose an evil deed. Just as everyone was patiently waiting for him to speak, He Jing, who was standing under the light, suddenly said, "Don't worry. He Jing isn't here." Cece cursed in her heart and quickly tried to stop the witness from speaking, but it was too late. The witness said, "Actually, you've already revealed the truth. He Jing was the one who asked me to buy the votes." Everyone was flabbergasted. He Jing was speechless. Puffed. Cheng Yi's expression suddenly became extremely ugly. She pinched the back of Cece's hand hard, and Cece hinted crazily, "Could it be that you remembered wrongly? Maybe that person's name isn't He Jing, but Zhao Jing." The witness was stunned for a moment, thinking to himself that the script was not written like this. It seemed that he would have to be paid more later. Then, he replied firmly, "No, it's definitely He Jing. The pronunciation of he is very unique. I will not remember it wrongly." Cece was so enraged that she wanted to hit someone. This idiot. She had long forgotten that she had told him repeatedly that, no matter how others denied it, he would insist that it was He Jing in front of everyone. He Jing glanced at Cece and laughed. Then why did she ask you to buy the votes for me? The witness stared at He Jing suspiciously and remembered what Cece had said before. Cheng Yi was prettier than the average person, and He Jing was quite good-looking, much prettier than the two girls beside Cece. Therefore, he treated He Jing as Cheng Yi and said passionately, "She said that you snatched her parents away and wanted to let you have a taste of notoriety. Once in high school expels you, your parents will definitely take her back." "Oh, then she's really mean." "Exactly." All the teachers and students had a hard time holding back their laughter and almost treated this farce as a comedy. They looked at Cece meaningfully. Cece's face was ashen. Cheng Yi finally couldn't hold it in anymore and shouted, "I am Cheng Yi." The witness's brain stopped spinning. It took him a while to come back to his senses. He pointed at He Jing and asked, "Then who is she?" He Jing's red lips curled up slightly. "I'm He Jing." Chapter 80, I have a piece of evidence too. Chapter 80, I have a piece of evidence too. A huge question mark gradually appeared in the witness's mind. Then, he turned to look at Cece mechanically, only to see Cece's face full of hatred and resentment. F***ck, it was over. The acting was a mess. The witness was already dumbfounded. He Jing continued to ask, "How much money did I give you? How many votes did I get you to buy from others? Don't give an overestimation. I'm poor and might not be able to afford it." The witness braced himself. One forgot about these. He Jing pretended to be surprised and widened her beautiful eyes. "You're kidding. You just received the money and you forgot. Your memory is too bad." The witness laughed dryly and found an excuse to slip away. "I suddenly remembered that my girlfriend is having an abortion today. I have to accompany her to the hospital, so I'll leave first." He Jing was not unreasonable. She nodded and saw that he was almost running away. Then, she turned to Cece and said with a smile, "The witness you found seems to have some IQ problems. What should we do? Do you have other witnesses?" At this point, there was no other way out except to be stubborn. Cece gritted her teeth and argued, "He clearly told me that before." "Oh, He Jing continued to smile. "Actually, I also have a piece of evidence. If everyone is interested, I can show it to you." Cheng Yi's head buzzed and she hastily said, "No." She felt guilty. Although she did not know what evidence He Jing had, it was definitely unfavorable to her. She could not suffer a greater blow. She didn't want to drop out of school and disappoint Mr. and Mrs. Cheng. Cheng Yi quickly walked up to He Jing, her eyes pleading. She said in a low voice, Give Cece a chance. She didn't mean to frame you. Please forgive her this once, okay?" Then, in a small voice that only the two of them could hear, she said, "He Jing, please forgive me once on account of my brothers. I won't do it again." He Jing quietly looked at her. She couldn't figure out why this person was so different from the heroine in the original novel. She said calmly, "I'm not a person who can endure grievances. Cheng Yi, this is already the second time." She hadn't settled scores with her for previously making the Cheng family call to scold her. Cheng Yi blushed and bit her lower lip without saying a word. Then, her fingers curled up into fists as if she had made up her mind. She looked up at everyone and said loudly, "I admit that I was the one who manipulated the votes. I'm very sorry that I made such a decision because of my vanity. I apologize to Su-bai." Cece and Zhang Men were stunned. They rushed over and grabbed Cheng Yi's arm. "Xiao Yi, how can you say that? The evidence that He Jing had might not be the evidence that they had manipulated the votes. Why not just take a gamble?" Cheng Yi brushed their hands away and glared at He Jing venomously. She said self-righteously, "I'm sorry. I lied to you guys and made you suffer for me without knowing the truth. However, since the matter has been exposed, there's nothing to hide. I don't want you guys to be hurt because of me." She couldn't afford to gamble. She couldn't face the disappointment in Mr. and Mrs. Cheng's eyes. She didn't want to scram from Ean High School just like that. That would make her feel inferior to He Jing. This was something she could not accept no matter what. A real heiress would never lose to a fake one. A fake would always be a fake. She was the real goddess. Even if she occasionally went overboard, she could make amends. She had to surpass He Jing. Cece and Zhang Men were touched beyond words. They didn't expect that Cheng Yi would be willing to bear everything for them. They did not know it was only that Cheng Yi had been forced into a corner. Self-destruction could actually save some of her image. He Jing suddenly admired her wisdom, courage, and nerve. As expected of the female lead, it was admirable for her to make a bold decision. However, He Jing smiled lightly. I didn't expect that Cheng Yi really fixed the votes. The evidence in my hands actually has nothing to do with the vote fixing. Chapter 81, Turning the Tables. Chapter 81, Turning the Tables. Cheng Yi's eyes instantly turned red. He Jing took out her phone from her pocket and opened the photo album. She asked Shen Qiuyu, "Can videos from the phone be screened?" Shen Qiuyu said, "Yes. Sister Jing, I'll help you do it." He Jing thanked her lightly and handed her the phone. Shen Qiuyu immediately took the phone and rushed to the stage. Cheng Yi had already admitted that she was cheating. Subai did not have any sense of presence at the moment, so there was no need to play the rest of the PowerPoint. Seeing Shen Qiuyu come over, Subai tactfully made way for her. Shen Qiuyu deftly connected the phone to the smart console, and the video in the photo album was instantly magnified countless times before everyone's eyes. An attractive hand was the first to enter the shot. It held the mouse and its joints were clearly defined. The owner of the hand opened the forum of Yin High School and began to analyze the account that posted on the fake and real Heiress. After a while, there was only an IP address left on the screen. Yin High School, Year 2, Class 3. The poster was actually He Jing's classmate. It was clear that the owner of the post said that she was someone who had nothing to do with He Jing and Cheng Yi. How could classmates be called unrelated? What was even more interesting was that the person who helped He Jing analyze the IP address checked the IP address that was used to log into the account in the past, and another address popped up. Cypress Road, Tranquil District. It's not a school. Who logged in from home? Who lives in Tranquil District on Cypress Road? It's Zhang Men. In our second grade class, only Zhang Men lives in Tranquil District. The others are far away from her. Once this news was released, everyone was looking for this girl called Zhang Men. Shen Qiuyu sneered on stage and ordered, "Lighting technician, shine the beam on the short girl beside Cheng Yi. Blind her with that light." Zhang Men, who was originally inconspicuous in school, was suddenly locked in by the lights. Her pale face was like a dying patient as she shrank and hid behind Cheng Yi. Cheng Yi didn't want to be illuminated by the lights, so she pushed her out. Zhang Men appeared under the lights in such a sorry and humiliating manner. She shed tears and quibbled, "No, it's not me. This video of yours must have been edited." He Jing glanced at her and smiled. "Don't worry, there's more." Then, Shen Qiuyu started playing the second video. It was still the same hand being used to analyze the IP address, but this time, the target was different. It was the account that made the second post about the real and fake heiresses. This account had never logged in from the school before. There was only one IP address, and that was the Tranquil District on Cypress Road. The entire video was only 2 minutes long, and it was difficult to edit it. He Jing said, "I never thought that one day, I would suffer defamation and slander at the hands of my classmates. This is really disappointing. I'm not taking out this evidence for anything. I'm just trying to prove that I've never done such a sinister thing. Remaining quiet to prove innocence is just an excuse for the powerless. I just want to nail down the facts. I, He Jing, am frank, honest, and above board. I will definitely not be soft-hearted or polite with anyone who ever slanders me." Her words were followed by thunderous applause. The teachers and students were amazed. The light returned to He Jing. Shen Qiuyu cheered loudly on the stage. Suddenly, an idea came to her mind. She picked up the phone and took more than 10 photos of He Jing. Then, she magnified them on the big screen to let everyone feel the beauty of her face. At this moment, there was only one thought in everyone's mind. D**MN, she was too beautiful. Chapter 82, Becoming the School Belle. Chapter 82, Becoming the School Belle. At this unforgiving angle, not only did He Jing not have a single pore, but her skin was also fair and smooth, and ruddy as if it was glowing. Her eyelashes were long, curly, and thick, and her red lips were gorgeous like roses, making people's hearts flutter at a glance. Such a beauty actually withdrew from the school bell election. Was there any justice in this world? Shen Qiuyu took the opportunity to say, although Sister Jing said that it's better to do 2 more questions and improve yourself, rather than to participate in the school bell election, I still think that it's too much of a pity that Sister Jing doesn't become the school belle with her looks. I want to help Sister Jing canvass votes. I hope everyone will vote for her to be the school belle. It's not a loss to vote for my beautiful Sister Jing. Is anyone willing? Yes, I'll vote for Sister Jing. Wu Yu shouted. The other boys in Class 3 also joined forces and shouted, He Jing, bravely fly. The boys from Class 3 will always be by your side. He Jing had no words. Her mood suddenly turned foul. She looked at her own photos screened one after another on the stage and felt both helpless and touched. However, she inadvertently caught a glimpse of a slender figure beside the curtain on the side of the stage, imperceptibly hidden in the darkness. He Jing's gaze met his from afar. When she met his starry dark eyes, she saw a faint and dazzling smile. Then, he turned around and left, as if he had never been there. Everything was like a gorgeous and eerie illusion. He Jing's heart skipped a beat. She suddenly felt that Yan Hanqi might have been protecting her overly strong self-esteem, so he didn't do anything and left everything to her. He stood there, ready to strike when she couldn't handle it. However, she quickly banished this narcissistic thought. Who was Yan Hanqi? He was the male lead. The male lead was destined to have true love. What did it have to do with cannon fodder and supporting actress like her? Don't let your imagination run wild. You have to be calm. However, He Jing still decided to treat him to a meal when she was free, to thank him for protecting her on the forum. She'd be going to the escape room next weekend. Why not pick that time? After Wu Yu finished voting, he ran back excitedly and mumbled, pulling He Jing back from her thoughts. Sister Jing, what are you looking at? You're the school belle. It turned out that Shen Qiuyu had suggested that, while the entire school was present, it would be better to publicly vote for the school belle. After receiving everyone's unanimous approval, the teachers had no choice but to go with the flow and cancel the viewing. In the end, He Jing alone took 90% of the school's votes and overwhelmingly won first place. Subai didn't expect that she would end up helping someone else instead. She left the recording room angrily. Shen Qiuyu waved the small flag of victory and ran over to inform He Jing. Sister Jing, you're the school belle now. You can shoot a school promotional MV with Brother Shi. What kind of development trajectory was this? The matter of the school belle was over just like that. Cheng Yi wasn't chosen. This was seriously inconsistent with the original work. He Jing was a little unhappy. If the original plot could be changed at any time, then wouldn't it mean that she wouldn't have the power to control the script? How could this change her ending of being cannon fodder? Sister Jing, the class teacher looking for you. After the farce ended, the students had already left one after another. Someone returned to inform He Jing of the news. He Jing was confused. She had already collected all the homework for all the subjects today and handed them in, so why was the teacher still looking for her? However, she still left the recording room quickly. The other students walked behind her and looked at her swift figure. They still felt that it was unreal. Why hadn't they realized before that she was so beautiful? Then, there were many speculations, such as, is the person in the video on He Jing's phone her boyfriend, and no wonder He Jing publicly said she didn't like Yan Hanqi. Chapter 83, Promotion of the MV. Chapter 83, Promotion of the MV. However, most of them were still enraptured by He Jing's beauty. They praised He Jing while belittling Cheng Yi. No wonder He Jing could get first place in the school. Hear what she said, that it's better to do 2 more questions than to participate in the school belle election. On the other hand, some people would do anything for a false reputation. Their results are terrible, and they even shot themselves in the foot. What a joke. As expected, birds of a feather flock together. Cheng Yi is not much, and her 2 friends are not much either. One found someone to perjure evidence, and the other used a fake identity to smear He Jing. He Jing is really unlucky to have these 3 classmates. She might as well transfer to our class. Cheng-yi listened to these comments as she walked silently behind them. She lowered her head, her nails digging into her flesh. Others might not recognize it, but she did. The hand in the video on He Jing's phone belonged to He Sui. She never expected that the person who betrayed her at such a critical moment would be He Sui. If it weren't for the evidence provided by He Sui, she wouldn't have panicked and admitted that she had cheated. If He Sui had not provided evidence, Zhang Man's post to defame He Jing would not have been exposed. There was still room for redemption. Cheng Yi's chest hurt so much that she decided to get an explanation from He Sui no matter what. Could it be that he had already switched sides and joined He Jing's camp? No. She did not believe it. He Jing arrived at the class teacher's office and immediately saw Yan Hanqi standing next to him. He looked like a male model from a magazine. His height and body proportions were exceptional, and he stood there in a dazzling manner. Yan Hanqi heard the commotion and looked at her. He smiled meaningfully. He Jing had a hunch that something was wrong. Then, she heard the class teacher say, "He Jing, you're here. I have an important task for you." "What is it?" He Jing asked. The teacher said, "You'll be filming this year's promotional music video with Yan Hanqi." He Jing was stumped. The teacher was too well informed. She had only been the school belle for less than 10 minutes. The teacher continued, "The school will pay for all the costumes and props during the filming process, including the photographer. You only need to follow the script and act accordingly. If there is anything inappropriate, you can ask Yan Hanqi to communicate with you." "Can you change the person being filmed?" He Jing asked. Who did she think she was? How could she be qualified to shoot a MV with the male lead? They should let Cheng-yi do it. They were a match made in heaven. Yan Hanqi smiled and didn't say anything, but the teacher understood what he meant. "No. If you have any difficulties, just tell me. The school will solve them for you." There was no difficulty at all. She just felt as though her life was about to come to an end. The teacher couldn't bear to make things difficult for her, but he couldn't make the decision on behalf of the young master and change his partner without permission. Yan Hanqi took the initiative to say, "Merit student, think about the scholarship. It's going to be given out after filming the MV. It'd be such a pity if you can't get it." He Jing was at a loss for words. Despicable. He only knew how to use the scholarship to scare people. She didn't want it, and no way. She had to. He Jing took a deep breath and glared at him. "All right, I'll do it." He was the one who insisted on sticking to her, and not the other way around. The heavens should open their eyes and not make her cannon fodder. Otherwise, she would really curse. Yan Hanqi smiled and continued to push his luck. "Merit student, can you add me on WeChat? We have to choose the location of the MV together. The school has already sent me pictures of the location. I'll send them to you." He Jing couldn't reject him in front of the teacher, so she scanned his WeChat. Chapter 84, Cunning and Sneaky Guy. Chapter 84, Cunning and Sneaky Guy. Yan Hanqi was not lying. He sent her the pictures of the school's filming location within 2 seconds of adding her as a friend. However, the school square. The school grove. School cafeteria. Was there a need to choose? Yan Hanqi smiled cunningly and blinked innocently. "Merit student, what do you think of the grove?" He Jing almost hit him on the spot. She glared at him furiously and said, "Up to you." "Oh, and school uniforms," Yan Hanqi said. "Our school has produced 3 types of uniforms in total. Up to you. For the props, there are books, a radio, a basketball." After all the communication was done, Yan Hanqi looked at her meaningfully. "He Jing, you're really casual." He Jing was dumbstruck. "Little brat, you're dead." When they returned to the classroom, Shen Qiuyu and Wu Yu came up to her and asked curiously, "School is almost over. Why did the teacher call you over?" "Sister Jing, tell us about it." He Jing didn't want to mention it at all. She said expressionlessly, "The teacher asked me to shoot a music video with Yan Hanqi." Shen Qiuyu let out a wow and felt a little envious. Although she didn't like Yan Hanqi anymore, she didn't have many chances to shoot a music video with a handsome guy like Yan Hanqi. "If you want, I'll let you do it instead, He Jing said. Shen Qiuyu immediately restrained her expression and shook her head. No, no, no. Forget it. As everyone knew, Yan Hanqi was notoriously difficult to deal with. He was not difficult to deal with because of his misogynistic temper, but because he was actually very fussy. For example, if the cup he drank from was accidentally touched by someone, he would throw it away. Another example was when his sneakers were accidentally stepped on while playing basketball. From then on, he would no longer wear those sneakers, and he would send someone to get a new pair for him on the spot. Shooting an MV. It was not difficult to imagine the scene. If she got too close, she would enjoy the same treatment as Cheng Yi. Stay away from me. I'm about to throw up from the smell of your perfume. If she moved too far away, he would put on a long face and think that the other party was hostile to him. He would directly quit and say, I'm not filming anymore. In short, pray for yourself. Perhaps He Jing had seen something from Shen Qiuyu's expression, but she felt terrible. She looked like she had nothing to live for. Suddenly, she heard Yan Hanqi, who had just stepped in, standing at the door and laughing softly. His deep and seductive guttural voice made her heart pound. This demon. He Jing didn't want to look at him and deliberately avoided his gaze. Yan Hanqi walked over and smiled. It's my honor to be able to shoot the school's promotional music video with He Jing this time. I hope I can give He Jing a pleasant experience. He Jing's cheeks inexplicably heated up as she glowered fiercely at him. Experience, your foot. After school, He Jing quickly packed her bag and left without looking back, afraid that she would be gone if she looked at Yan Hanqi again. On the way, Cheng Yi jogged up, panting as she followed behind. Sister He Jing. He Jing originally wanted to ignore her, but she relentlessly followed her all the way to the school gate. He Jing's footsteps stopped abruptly. She turned around and asked in a distant tone, Is there anything you need? Cheng Yi stopped in front of her with her hands intertwined. She lowered her head and said, He Jing, I apologize on behalf of Man. I didn't know she would do such a thing. I hope you don't take it to heart. Chapter 85, B*TCH. Chapter 85, B*TCH. He Jing almost laughed. She had no doubt that Zhang Man's post to defame her had something to do with her at the beginning, then after watching the show today, she was certain that they had planned all of this together. Just to sully her reputation. Of the three, one was in charge of commanding, one was in charge of public opinion, and one was in charge of faking witnesses. And she actually had the guts to come up to her. He Jing's red lips curved up and she said mockingly, Cheng Yi, you don't have to apologize for something you didn't do. You came to me so eagerly. Do you have a guilty conscience? Cheng Yi had an aggrieved expression on her face as tears fell. He Jing, do you have some misunderstanding about me? I'm not what you think. He Jing said, I know what you're like. Please have some professionalism as a female lead. Don't disgust others. Why didn't I realize that the female lead was actually like that when I read the original plot? Could it be that the party's brilliance did not shine enough for the author to let such a person be the main character? Was there a problem with his outlook on life, his values, his worldviews? Cheng Yi cried even harder, her eyes almost swollen like walnuts. Many people shot glances at them, thinking that He Jing was bullying Cheng Yi. After all, the tears of a beauty were always moving. He Jing couldn't be bothered to argue with her anymore. She turned around and was about to leave when Cheng Yi suddenly grabbed her hand. Subconsciously, He Jing threw Cheng Yi to the ground. At the same time, a furious roar came from behind like thunder. He Jing, what are you doing? He Jing turned around and saw He Sui and He Ning. He Sui strode forward and helped Cheng Yi up from the ground. He Ning walked to Cheng Yi's other side and held her hand. He looked coldly at He Jing and said, This time, we didn't wrongly accuse you, right? He Jing, you really disappoint me. He Jing looked at Cheng Yi wrapped in He Sui's arms. Her face was covered in tears, but the corners of her mouth were raised, as if she had won a victory. He Jing was silent for a moment and lowered her head. He Sui said unhappily, Hey, say something. This time, they had seen her bully Cheng Yi with their own eyes. They could not let her get away with it. Suddenly, He Jing said softly, I was wrong. He Sui was at a loss for words. He Ning was shocked, and his eyebrows twitched uncontrollably. He vaguely felt that he was in trouble. Cheng Yi's premonition surged again. He Jing looked up and pouted her red lips. She was also crying. Her tears were like dewdrops on her eyelashes. Her cheeks were red, and so was the tip of her nose. She looked extremely pitiful. However, she was also exceptionally cute. Her tear-stained appearance made Cheng Yi, who was also crying, pale in comparison. She said weakly with a trace of strength, "I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that to Cheng Yi. Even if Cheng Yi said that she's your sister and that I'm just an orphan, I shouldn't have gotten angry. I shouldn't have pushed Cheng Yi when she pinched my arm. No matter what, it's wrong to hit her." Slander. This was slander. Cheng Yi was directly slandered by He Jing. She couldn't help but scream on the spot, "When did I pinch your arm? I didn't. I didn't say those words either. Don't slander me." He Jing continued to wipe her tears. "Yes, Cheng Yi didn't. I accidentally did it myself. Since fourth brother and second brother both like sister Cheng Yi, I'll apply for accommodation." He Sui and He Ning frowned at the same time. No. If she really stayed there, He Yuan would skin them alive. Chapter 86, She's fine. Chapter 86, She's fine. The two brothers were silent for a time. Eventually, He Sui went to He Jing's side and said, "Can you show me your hand?" He Jing refused. She mimicked Cheng Yi's bashful countenance and looked away. He Sui gently pulled her hand into his and said, "Let me have a look." He was shocked when he saw He Jing's bruised arm. It looked terrible. He Jing quickly snatched her hand away, saying, "Don't worry about me. Go and take care of sister Cheng Yi. She fell just now, and her butt must be hurting. How painful can a fall be?" He Sui muttered. "She's fallen plenty of times since she was young." Cheng Yi's beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. What was he saying? Cheng Yi turned to He Ning, believing he was smart enough to see through He Jing's cheap tricks and stand up for her. Unexpectedly, a slight frown overtook his features, and he asked her, "Xiao Yi, did you say what you did to He Jing?" "I didn't." Cheng Yi almost collapsed. They believed He Jing's words and not hers. He Ning showed no sign of siding with her. Instead, he released her hand and comforted He Jing, offering her his handkerchief to dry her tears. "Don't cry, you don't look pretty when you cry." He Jing accepted the handkerchief and cleaned herself up, sniffling every so often as she said, "Second brother, you're so nice." He Ning's expression instantly softened. "Bring her back and get her hand seen to," he told He Sui. "I need to talk to Xiao Yi." He Sui spared Cheng Yi a parting glance. He had wanted to tell his sibling about Zhangmen, Cheng Yi's best friend, but stopped himself. Getting He Jing treated was more important. After He Sui and He Jing left, He Ning solemnly said, "Xiao Yi, I have something to say to you." Cheng Yi's heart skipped a beat. He Ning rarely took that tone with her, and when he did, it meant he was being serious. "Second brother, what is it?" Cheng Yi asked, pushing down her panic with her head bowed. He Ning eyed her with cool indifference. "No matter what you think He Jing has done to you, she is still your sister. I hope you'll set aside your petty differences with her if for no one else but for the sake of big brother, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth brothers, Xiaogua, and mom and dad. I know you're upset about leaving the He family, but so is He Jing. You shouldn't speak ill of her like that now and ever." Cheng Yi wanted to cry but had no tears. It was all He Jing's fault for dragging her name through the mud. "The girl who posted those defamatory statements on the school forums is your friend, Zhangmen, right?" Cheng Yi stiffened, color draining from her face. She hurriedly grabbed He Ning by the hem of his shirt and said, "I had nothing to do with it." "Did He Jing say something to you about it?" He Ning replied, "No, she didn't. I looked into the matter myself. You shouldn't associate yourself with such figures in the future." Cheng Yi could not even cry despite desperately wanting to. There was a hole in her heart, resembling a torn cloth bag leaking air. She had lived with the He family for over a decade and had never been questioned or taught such a humiliating lesson. She felt her relationship with her siblings rapidly crumbling like a web undone. All because of He Jing. What was so good about He Jing? She was the He family's esteemed daughter, having lived with them longer than Yi Jing, so why had things come to this? What was the cause of this sudden, inexplicable change? Qing Yi's eyes turned red. He Ning meant nothing else by his words, merely stating an observation after investigating the matter. He could not have known what was going through Qing Yi's mind. Just as he was about to explain, Qing Yi stepped on his foot and ran away, her face covered, barely concealing the tears running down her face. In the blink of an eye, she was gone. Chapter 87, See Through. Chapter 87, See Through. He Ning frowned deeply, but with Qing Yi gone, there was nothing more he could do. Meanwhile, back in the He family home. Fourth brother, did you find the medicinal wine or not? He Jing sat on the sofa, enjoying He Sui's care. It was a wonderful feeling. He Sui anxiously rummaged through the boxes and cabinets, replying with a tight voice, I'm looking. Soon after, he found a black bottle with a wooden stopper tucked in a corner. He grabbed it and squatted in front of He Jing. Here, let me apply it for you. He Jing smiled bashfully, giving He Sui access to her arm. With her head tilted and a curl to her cherry-colored lips, she began, Fourth brother, why haven't I seen this gentle side to you before? The fingers He Sui used to apply the medicine to He Jing's bruise trembled. He looked up, his eyebrows arched. Gentle. Don't kid yourself. Besides, you shouldn't use such sissy words to describe me. He Jing was being honest. After all, He Sui had insisted on seeing her hands. Watching Qing Yi on the verge of an apoplectic rage was just the icing on the cake. Wait, when did she unknowingly become a vicious female supporting character? As He Sui carefully applied the brown medicinal wine to her, an unpleasant and strange smell was emitted. He Jing frowned. Second brother, what did you apply on me? Medicinal wine. Is the medicinal wine supposed to smell like that? He Sui picked up the bottle of medicinal wine and shook it, taking a whiff of the mixture. He suddenly realized something. Oh, it might have expired. He Sui noticed He Sui's wide-eyed look, continuing indifferently. He Sui saw her disdain and said indifferently, as long as we don't have the money to buy a replacement for our family's things, they will never expire. He Jing did not know how to respond. 10 minutes later, her arm began to itch. He Jing quickly washed her arm under the tap. She had developed a rash. It was an allergic reaction. He Sui heard the commotion and came out of the room. He frowned when he grasped the situation. What should we do? Why are you asking me? He Jing cried. He Sui felt guilty about He Jing's plight and whipped out his laptop to find an answer online. Using their neighbor's internet connection, he typed in the search bar, what to do if I have a rash on my hand. The most popular answer was astonishing. He Jing felt a chill run down her spine as she met He Sui's strange gaze. What did Baidu say? Baidu says to have your hand chopped off because it's probably a sign of cancer. He Jing nearly fell over in exasperation. When He Ning returned, he boiled a pot of hot water for He Jing. How is drinking hot water going to help me? He Jing asked. Expressionlessly, He Ning answered, it's a mild allergic reaction, it'll subside with time. You wouldn't be in this state if your immune system weren't so weak. Drinking hot water will help strengthen your immune system. He Jing buried her face in her hands. Could this be punishment for usurping the female lead's route? Fortunately, He Jing's rash disappeared after an hour or two, just as He Ning predicted. He Ning threw the expired bottle of medicinal wine into the trash and said, Fourth brother, go down and buy a new bottle. He Sui's mouth fell open in disbelief. We've been using this medicinal wine for 7 years, and it's always worked. Are you going or not? He Sui, I'm going. Sheesh. Fake heiress. Ah, my life, how troublesome, He Sui muttered as he picked up his wallet, heading for the door. He Jing smiled sweetly at his departing figure, saying, Fourth brother, I'd like another popsicle while you're at it. He Sui choked on a curse at the tip of his tongue. He looked back and shot He Jing a glare, which she met with a dazzling smile. With great reluctance, he shut the door behind him. Only He Ning and He Jing were left in the living room. Those bruises on your arm were your own doing, aren't they? Chapter 88, Doesn't he like you? Chapter 88, Doesn't he like you? He Jing was stunned. Then, like a cat caught chewing on the sofa, she answered without guilt, second brother found out. Ning was speechless. Where did she get the confidence to be so shameless? Ning had only figured it out on the way home. He had lived with Cheng-yi for so many years and rarely saw Cheng-yi cry so miserably. She would not have reacted so strongly unless she felt seriously wronged. His first thought upon coming to this realization was to confront He Jing, but that went out the window when he discovered He Jing was suffering from an allergic reaction. His anger had mostly subsided at this point. Feigning anger now would do little to address the issue. The divine powers must have sent He Jing to torment him. Since her appearance, the He family had been in chaos, facing trouble after trouble. And the source of it all was this deceitful gremlin whose face was barely an inch away from his. Are you angry? He Jing asked. Why did you do that? He Ning demanded frostily. If I hadn't done as I did, you would have blamed me without listening to reason. I was only looking out for myself. He Ning paused. How is it? Does it feel good to be wronged? He Jing needled lightly. Does your heart ache to see your precious? Xiao Yi in tears. He Ning's expression was so terrible that it was scary, but he did not allow his anger to get the better of him. You have my word, he said, his words ringing solemnly, if something similar happens in the future, I will investigate the cause thoroughly. Don't do this again. Fine, He Jing said. If she doesn't act against me, I will do the same to her. She had not lied there. If the real heiress did not take the initiative to provoke her, she would want to stay as far away from her as possible. No one would say no to living a long life. He Jing still wanted to avoid the horrible outcome of becoming cannon fodder. Early the next morning, He Jing went to school and found that Cheng-yi was not around. Apparently, she had called in sick. Lu Cixi and Zhang Men were in class when Zhang Men received notice to head to the principal's office. Zhang Men was not away for long when she returned in tears. Her red-rimmed eyes and heart-wrenching cries were clear for all to see, attracting everyone's attention. Man, what's wrong? Lu Cixi quickly handed her a tissue. I was expelled. Zhang Men sobbed in despair. It was at this moment that Yan Hanqi stepped into the classroom. With one hand in his pocket and a stray lock of his raven-black hair curled up, he cut quite the sleepy figure. He ignored the commotion and greeted He Jing with a lazy smile, "Good morning, merit student." For a moment, the atmosphere in the classroom turned strange. Although Yin High School was known to be strict, the school very rarely expelled students. That was not to say Zhang Men was innocent, she was the guilty party and deserved to be expelled for her horrific actions. Still, one could dream, even after the effects of the forum closure incident. No one could have known what was going through Zhang Man's mind. Suddenly, she rushed up to He Jing and clutched the edge of her blouse. He Jing, it's my fault. I shouldn't have targeted you. Can you please talk to Brother Shi on my behalf? I don't want to be expelled from school. My father. He'll beat me up. Let go. A slight frown adorned He Jing's face. Zhang Men shook her head frantically. He Jing sighed exasperatedly. What makes you think Yan Hanqi can overturn the school's decision? Besides, why would he listen to me? Brother Shi is the only son of the school's largest shareholder. Of course, he has the clout to have my expulsion overturned. Brother Shi likes you. He'll listen to you. The class fell into a dead silence as soon as he finished speaking. Zhang Men looked up and noticed her classmates' grave, sympathetic faces, realizing that she might have misspoken. She immediately tried to remedy the situation and said, "No. That's not what I meant. I'm at fault, please give me another chance." Chapter 89, is that right? Chapter 89, is that right? He Jing laughed. Do you really think I'd go to the effort to do something like that for you? Or is this desperation talking? Are you so hard up that you'd want to owe Yan Hanqi a sizable favor? A better person might live and let live, but not her. He Jing stuck by her principles. If no one wished ill upon her, she would reciprocate. But if one stepped on her toes and thought they could get away with it, they had another thing coming. She was no saint, nor did she possess infinite compassion. Think before you act. All actions have consequences. I hope this will be a lesson you won't forget, one you'll carry to your future school. Zhang Man's tears dried up, reality had caught up to her. Just as she was about to call He Jing out for being cold-blooded and heartless, He Jing interjected. Was it worth it? Doing so much for someone else, someone who does not care about you. Zhang Man froze. A chill gripped her in its icy grasp, rooting her to the spot. Her lips moved. But no words escaped. She could not help but wonder if all she had done and suffered was worth it. She had done so much for Cheng Yi, but on the day of her expulsion, Cheng Yi had taken sick leave and did not even offer her any support. Cheng Yi's parents were shareholders of the school. No, she could not listen to He Jing. She and Cheng Yi were friends, best friends. Zhang Man fished out her phone from her pocket and called Cheng Yi. She called once, but the latter did not pick up. She tried again and got the same result. This sequence of events repeated 5 or 6 times with no sign that the line would ever connect. He Jing leveled pity-filled eyes on Zhang Man. She was most certainly aware of who Zhang Man was calling, but she would get no help there. Cheng Yi was probably wallowing in self-pity, too depressed to bother helping Zhang Man otherwise. In this era where phones never left one's side, there was no reason why she could not get through. Zhang Man threw her phone on the ground, her puffy eyes summoning a flood of tears again. Lu Sisi tried comforting her, saying, "Don't jump to conclusions. Xiao Yi called in sick, she's probably not feeling well." "Oh." He Jing quipped. "Shall I give it a go?" He Jing picked up the phone that Zhang Man had thrown and dialed the number on the screen. It did not even take 10 seconds for the line to connect. Cheng Yi's hoarse voice carried over. A quiet "hello" was heard by those present before He Jing hung up. Lu Sisi did not expect things to occur as He Jing had said. She was stunned into silence and dared not look at Zhang Man. Zhang Man was so angry that she laughed. She turned around and said to He Jing, "Cheng Yi was also involved in the voter fraud, including the smear campaign against you. She approved everything." Although the class had their suspicions, it was still quite startling to have their thoughts confirmed by Zhang Man. Cheng Yi may have looked sweet and innocent, but she harbored a cruel, vicious streak that few had witnessed until now. More alarming, however, was her readiness to burn the bridges she had formed, leaving her friend in the lurch in her moment of need. It was horrifying. Even Lu Sisi began second-guessing Cheng Yi's words, trying to parse out the true from the false. Only Cheng Yi's admirer, Sun Chaoyang, remained steadfast in his defense of her. "Don't slander Cheng Yi when she isn't around to defend herself. Cheng Yi isn't the person you make her out to be. She's too kind and sweet to be anything else." Zhang Man dried her tears and looked at Sun Chaoyang pitifully. He looked like a beggar begging for scraps in her eyes. "Do you know what she said about you in private? She said you were a harassing bootlicker and found you very distressing. Cheng Yi has only had eyes for brother Shi, no one else." Sun Xiaoyang's pupils constricted. It was as if he had suffered a terrible blow, his face turning ashen. He Jing never expected the aftermath of the voter fraud incident to be so exciting. She suddenly felt that the little setback she almost suffered was nothing. When Cheng Yi returned, she would probably faint from anger. The young man's clear and bright voice sounded unhurried at this moment. "Don't talk nonsense. My real fiancée will be unhappy if she hears this." Chapter 90, Isolated. Chapter 90, Isolated. His eyes were slits, barely open, as he smiled at He Jing. It gave He Jing goosebumps. Zhang Man may not have been entirely truthful. Still, such were the thoughts shared by the vast majority of the class. Yan Hanqi was interested in He Jing. Ever since He Jing's personality flipped overnight, Yan Hanqi had been more diligent in his attendance. Why would a truant like him suddenly turn over a new leaf, willingly submitting his homework when asked? Was this not the power of love? It was obvious that although He Jing was not actually the daughter of the Qing family, Yan Hanqi did not intend to renounce the engagement to his fiancée. Yan Hanqi had already told her to get lost once, yet Cheng Yi seemed blatantly ignorant and self-absorbed. As it said, one's words would be nice when death was near. Zhang Man could not remain in Yin High School, so why should she keep Cheng Yi's secrets? After saying what she wanted to say, she resigned herself to her fate, packing her things and preparing to leave the class for the last time. Yan Hanqi approached He Jing and said, "You haven't responded to my greeting." He Jing did not even bat an eye, offering the most perfunctory salutations possible. "Morning." Yan Hanshi grinned boyishly. I'm sorry if what I said offended you. He did not plan on giving up his current fiancée, even though He Jing had fallen from grace, turning into a girl without any fortune. He Jing cocked a brow. What has that got to do with me? Why should I be offended? Yan Hanshi was speechless. He Jing tapped her table with a rolled-up book. Hurry up and hand in your homework. Yan Hanshi ogled He Jing, flabbergasted. Fine. Meanwhile, in the Cheng family, Cheng Yi lay on her bed, still brooding over the phone call she had just received. She felt a twitch in her eye and an inexplicable sense of unease. After stewing over the matter for an indeterminate amount of time, Cheng Yi gave in, drying her tears and putting on her makeup before calling her driver to send her to school. As soon as she arrived, Cheng Yi stood at the center of several mixed gazes from all directions as if she were being mocked for something she did not know. Cheng Yi's heart skipped a beat. Her unease swelled. Quickening her pace, she ate up the distance from the school gate to her classroom. All eyes turned to her in confusion when she slid the door open but just as quickly pretended to have not seen her from the way they averted their eyes. Cheng Yi did not think of herself as paranoid, but even she could tell something was wrong. She could feel herself being isolated and ostracized by the rest. She hurried to Lu Cici's table and inquired, what happened? Unexpectedly, Lu Cici answered noncommittedly without sparing her more than a glance, don't ask me, I don't know either. Cheng Yi's anxiety peaked, but she was too distressed to know who to turn to. Zhang Men was absent, and Lu Cici gave her the cold shoulder. She had only been away for half a day, so how had things devolved to this extent? Inspiration struck her in her hour of need. Wasn't the school forums the best place to learn the latest gossip? Excusing herself, she arrived at her desk and summarily pulled up the latest news on the school forums. Her name shone in bold, taking up much of the trending section. Words like vicious and heartless were repeated several times. Cheng Yi clicked on the most popular post, discovering what had transpired in her absence. It was too much. She collapsed in her heap, a doll with her strings cut in her chair. How could this have happened? She had only been upset and did not want to pick up Zhang Man's call, so how had that spiraled out of control, developing in a direction she could not have predicted? Just then, a classmate passed by, accidentally knocking over her pencil case. He immediately apologized. It's okay. Cheng Yi quickly said. Before she could finish, the student picked up her pencil case with a clean tissue before throwing it in the waste paper basket. Cheng Yi's words were stuck in her chest. Chapter 91, Turtle Hair. Chapter 91, Turtle Hair. Cheng Yi was furious. Who did he think he was? Did he think she was some kind of virus? How could he insult her like this? Why was she deliberately isolated from the rest? Was this some sort of ploy by He Jing? The sound of laughter coming from her peers forced her back to reality. Cheng Yi could not take it and left the school with her face covered. It was all He Jing's fault. She wanted Mr. and Mrs. Ching to teach He Jing a lesson and have her expelled from Yin High School. As for He Ning, no, He Ning and He Sui had already betrayed her. Only her third brother, He Zhou, would stand up for her. He Jing was not privy to Cheng Yi's thoughts as she continued reviewing her textbook, lost in thought. Cheng Yi had phoned in sick but still showed up, only to leave a while later. Did this count as skipping class? Forget it. He Ning would pull her up for tea and biscuits if she deducted points from Cheng Yi. The fewer troubles she had, the better. Yan Hanshi took her moment of distraction to nudge her arm. Miss Merritt. Student, is the computer I lent you any good? There was nothing for He Jing to complain about, not to mention how Yan Hanshi had spent 70,000 yuan on it. She thanked him sincerely, it's great. Thank you, Student Yan. Yan Hanshi smirked. Student Yan is the nickname Cheng Yi gave me. I want something different. He Jing frowned. How about Great God Yan? I don't believe in feudal superstitions, said Yan Hanshi. Boss Yan. I don't mix with gangs, Yan Hanshi said. Brother Shi. I don't like people calling me brother. He Jing was speechless. What was there to be picky about? Was he a turtle? Yan Hanshi wheeled her for another name. He Jing held a momentary silence before spitting out 3 words, Yan. Han. What could be simpler than calling someone by their name? Yan Hanshi smiled, clicking his ballpoint pen using the flat surface of his table. He looked like a cat who caught the canary. He Jing felt helpless. Did Yan Hanshi have something wrong with him? Why did he have to behave so strangely? Yan Hanshi shot He Jing a half-smile. Are you scolding me in your heart? He Jing was taken aback. Could he read her thoughts? Yan Hanshi set aside his pen and rubbed his forehead helplessly. The scholarships will be awarded soon. Since I lent you my computer, treat me to a meal. He Jing eyed him suspiciously. What do you think? Yan Hanshi teased playfully. An awkward frown worked its way onto He Jing's face. Yan Hanshi mulled over his options. He Jing was no longer the daughter of the Qing family, and she was not as rich as she once was, so he had to do his best to help her save where he could. How about Australian lobster? Yan Hanshi tried. He was already being conservative. The temperature around He Jing plummeted. Yan Hanshi frowned and thought of something less expensive. Filet steak. Do you want to bankrupt me? Seafood sashimi. Maybe. Unless you're talking about imported sashimi from Japan. In which case, I might as well dig up a loach from the river for you to eat. Turkish fried rice. Is Turkish another name for your godmother? What else could he eat? Yan Hanshi had set the bar pretty low, so much so that he thought it non-existent. Why don't you decide? He relented after much deliberation. He Jing seemed to have already thought it through and answered expressionlessly, we'll have hot and spicy soup. The meat dishes can't exceed 3 taels. Yan Hanshi was both angry and amused. He was the tyrant of Yin High School and the young master of a city. He would lose face if others saw him eating such base cuisine. He Jing's chilly facade faltered. She stared at him for a good, long while before compromising. You may have a few extra pieces of tripe. It was getting from bad to worse. Did he look like someone who would eat tripe? In the end, Yan Hanshi declined He Jing's invitation to have hot and spicy soup or whatever hot pot she could think of. A call from home saved him. As he answered the call, he snuck a glance at He Jing. Hot and spicy soup, or your version of mala hot pot, isn't sanitary, Yan Hanshi began. Let's have dinner at my place instead. Chapter 92, Third Brother, He Zhou. Chapter 92, Third Brother, He Zhou. He Jing did not think she was close to Yan Hanshi to the extent that he would invite her to his house for dinner. She recalled him saying he would like to try her cooking at some point, so maybe bringing some over would be a good idea. Now that she thought about it, He Jing realized it had been a while since she last cooked. Yan Hanshi had mentioned several items he would not mind eating earlier, and though she knew how to prepare them, the ingredients were expensive. In that case, it might not be a bad idea to help with dinner. At least it would save her from having He Ning and He Sui burning down the kitchen. He Jing had finished grocery shopping, buying plenty of carrots, celery, prawns, beef, and assorted seasonings, and now waited at First High School's front gate. He Sui saw that she was carrying a big plastic bag that was so heavy that she could not even lift it and quickly came to her aid. What did you buy? Why is it so heavy? He Jing dutifully listed out all she had bought. Are you trying to poison us or something? He Sui blurted out. Oh, how she would love to. As a 4-star chef, having her older brother question her cooking skills was the greatest insult. The ever more sensitive He Ning inquired, do you know how to cook? I do, He Jing affirmed. It probably won't taste like much. Shut up. He Jing hissed. He Sui's mouth snapped shut, but that did not mean he was pleased. He knew he was right. How could a pampered young lady, living in the lap of luxury, know anything about cooking? Whether or not she even knew how to boil a kettle of water was already in the air. There was no way she could be better than third brother, could she? 40 minutes later, the 3 of them arrived home. He Jing was the first through the door, having inserted the key into the keyhole. He Sui had his hands full with the groceries, so he was in no position to open the door. As soon as she entered the house, she noticed He Xiaoguo's presence. It seemed he was home earlier than usual. He Xiaoguo was sitting on the sofa, playing with his new toy. He Jing had never seen anything like it before and wondered who had given it to him. Soon, He Jing discovered another anomaly. Someone was in the kitchen cooking, the cooker hood's loud fans whirring. The smell of food filled the living room, making He Jing's stomach growl. He Sui, who was still outside, waiting for He Jing to get a move on, grew impatient and nudged her by swinging his laden bags and knocking into her calves. "What are you doing standing around?" He Jing snapped back to reality, reacting instinctually, giving him space to maneuver through. He Sui had not even taken a few steps into the house when he exclaimed, "Third brother, you're back." He Zhou, the family's best cook, had finally returned from his stint at their aunt's house. He no longer had to endure He Ning's bland porridge. He Zhou had a knack for turning the simplest ingredients into the most wholesome dishes. He was the spiritual pillar of the He family. Hearing the commotion, a man wearing an apron popped out of the kitchen. He was a young man of 18 or 19 years, but his temperament made him seem older than his years. For someone just out of puberty, He Zhou was far more mature and virtuous than his peers. He Zhou had a pair of peach blossom eyes and an arched nose, and his lips were redder and fuller than the average boy's. If He Ning resembled a cold, unapproachable lotus covered in frost, then He Zhou was a sweet, alluring poppy flower. He Zhou ignored He Sui and focused on He Jing. "So this is our biological sister, He Jing. I've heard so much about you," he laughed. "My name is He Zhou, and I am your older brother, but everyone calls me third brother. It's nice meeting you. I hope you'll look out for me." Chapter 93, Food for Commoners. Chapter 93, Food for Commoners. Ah, so this was He Zhou. He Jing treated everyone equally and greeted him with the same sweet smile she flashed at He Yuan when she was first accepted into the family. "Hello, third brother. I'm He Jing," she responded politely. He Zhou took off his apron, wiping his dirty hands on a clean rag. Come in, come in. It's great that you're back, dinner is almost ready." He Sui sprang to action, dumping the heavy groceries on the ground and worming his way past He Zhou and into the kitchen. "What are you cooking? It smells amazing. I brought a few things from our aunt's house. It isn't much, but there are beef and chicken drumsticks, so I thought of making a bell pepper stir-fry for the former and roast chicken for the latter," He Zhou said. He removed the lid covering the chicken drumsticks and helped himself to a piece. It was fresh out of the oven and piping hot, yet He Sui did not seem to mind, stuffing as much as he could manage into his mouth. "This is great," he cried. "Why aren't fifth and sixth brother back, though?" He Zhou glanced at He Jing. His lips twitched, forming a faint smile without any warmth. "Fifth brother and sixth brother still have things they need to handle back at our aunt's place. As for Xiaogua, I picked him up from school since it was on the way back. It'll be second brother's birthday in 2 days, so fifth and sixth brothers will return by then." He Jing felt uncomfortable under He Zhou's considering gaze. It felt like needles prickling her skin. She could not tell if it was He Zhou's default demeanor or whether he was being hostile. Since she could not tell, it was best to go with the flow. "Is it that good? Let me try some, too." He Sui swiped another chicken drumstick and stuffed it into her mouth. Before she had time to savor the flavor, He Sui crowed, "How is it? Isn't it amazing?" Whether it was before she transmigrated and became the fake heiress or the time she spent inhabiting her new body, He Jing had always been fortunate enough to sample excellent food. He Zhou had not controlled the heat in the oven well nor considered how long the chicken drumsticks had been frozen. It left much to be desired, in He Jing's opinion. Still, He Jing did not want to pick on third brother's cooking and leave a bad impression on him. They had just met. She finished her drumstick with as much care as she could muster and smiled. "It's delicious, third brother is an amazing cook. How did you marinate the chicken?" He Zhou returned the smile with a faint upturning of his lips. "It was not anything special. Coming from a wealthy family, you might not be used to it." He Sui did not think He Jing looked like some rich young lady. Besides having good skin and a nice appearance, nothing else might indicate she had come from a wealthy background. Nonetheless, He Sui sensed something strange about He Zhou's mood and intervened before anything happened. "Third brother, how long till dinner is ready? I'm starving." Success. He managed to steer He Zhou's attention away from a sensitive topic. He Zhou peered out into the sitting room and, upon seeing He Xiaogua on the sofa, called for him to scoop out the rice from the rice cooker. He Jing followed He Zhou out of the kitchen and looked him straight in the eye as she said, "Third brother, I know a little about cooking, but I'm not very good at it. Can you teach me? Are you sure you want to learn how to cook?" He Zhou quirked a brow. "It's hard work." "Yes. I know," He Jing replied. He Ning could not take it anymore. "Lessons later, food now. There's no time for you to learn how to cook. You should focus on your schoolwork. The college entrance exams are approaching, you need to be prepared." He Jing cocked her head to one side, bending like a lilting flower. "Does it matter? Our third brother is also a student, yet he takes time out of each day to cook for everyone. If I learn to cook, I can help ease his burden." A short silence ensued, which He Jing broke by joking, "I'm sure third brother won't make things difficult for me, will you?" The air thickened, freezing those present. He Zhou's smile faded, and his eyes narrowed into pinpricks as he appraised He Jing. He Jing just calmly and generously accepted his judging looks. He Jing had nothing to go by regarding He Zhou's personality. Yet, she doubted she had imagined his hostility when he talked about his food. A woman's intuition was never wrong. Chapter 94, Schemes. Chapter 94, Schemes. A minute of intense scrutiny passed before He Zhou looked away, a faint smile tugging at his cheeks. "Of course not." He Jing plastered a smile and stopped talking. She returned to the kitchen to help He Sui with the winter melon soup. He Zhou had prepared 4 dishes: dry roasted chicken drumsticks, stir-fried beef with green peppers, pickled vegetables, and a winter melon soup. It was quite a sumptuous meal. At least, it was much better than the plain porridge He Ning whipped up when he came home. He Sui inhaled the food, devouring the dishes as if he had never eaten anything so delicious in his 8 lifetimes. He Ning pulled out a chair and called He Jing, "Sit here and eat with us." He Jing did as she was bade to do. He Ning deliberately sat between He Jing and He Zhou, separating the two. As He Zhou ladled some soup for He Xiaogua, he spoke as if he were talking about the weather. "It's a pity Xiao Yi isn't here with us. If she were, I would have cooked a little more." Braised chicken drumsticks were always her favorite. He Jing would have to be a dunce not to know He Zhou was trying to make things difficult for her. Her head bowed, she continued eating as if she had not heard him. He Zhou was a perverted siscon, and this encounter merely solidified what the novel she had read had had to say about him. He Zhou's perversion went deeper than He Ning's. If He Ning was the big brother figure to the real daughter, then He Zhou claimed the spot of a controlling and possessive father figure. He Zhou decided everything from the clothes the real daughter wore to the shoes she paraded in. No one else had any say on the matter. Things only worsened when he struck it rich, making a fortune for himself. At this point, he even decided on the bags and jewelry she donned. He Jing remembered feeling confused. She always felt that He Zhou did not treat the real heiress as a sister but rather as a daughter, or perhaps, for better or worse, a dress-up doll he could play with and do as he wished. The real heiress was just a toy to him, a toy he held deep affection for, but still a toy, regardless. Life outside of playing dress-up with the real heiress for He Zhou was a monochrome monotony. He did not have any hobbies or interests aside from the time he spent making the real heiress his plaything. He Jing suddenly felt a wave of pity for He Zhou. He Zhou had become the way he was because he did not have a happy childhood, one embittered by his life's experience. It was a tragedy. He Zhou's anger spiked as he realized he had not gotten a rise out of He Jing. With his teeth clenched, he wondered what He Jing was scheming. His thoughts were confirmed by the indulgent smile He Jing shot him. So much was conveyed in that smile that it stunned He Zhou, but he could not mistake the warmth or gentility it seemed to evoke. He Zhou glared at his food, his eyes lidded and dark. No wonder Cheng Yi had fallen out of favor with He Ning and He Sui so quickly. Though he had 1,000 grievances, there was no one he could turn to vent, so he suffered in silence. This new sister of his was a wily fox. He could not show weakness to her. The meal passed peacefully. After the meal, He Sui took the initiative to wash the dishes. He Jing went into the kitchen to help, but He Sui shooed her out. "Out, out. We don't have enough bowls for you to break them willy-nilly, neither do we have the money to spare on such trivial expenses." Helplessly, He Jing allowed herself to be ushered out of the kitchen. He Ning had already retired to his room, while He Ziag was sprawled on the dining table doing his homework. He Zhou was the only one free. He was watching the Kitchen King competition. He Sui had not been discreet in chasing He Jing out of the kitchen, drawing He Zhou's attention. He eyed He Jing with indifference. Taking the initiative, He Jing began, "Third brother, this episode of the Kitchen King competition isn't very good. Some chef surnamed Wang won the competition. It's obvious that the result was staged." He Zhou hated spoilers, so his brows furrowed into a tight knot when he heard what He Jing had to say. Still, he turned back to the television. "Who are you to say Chef Wang won the championship through underhanded means? If you don't understand how he won, there's no need to force an explanation when none is needed." Chapter 95, Pan-Fried Steak. Chapter 95, Pan-Fried Steak. He Jing did not correct him. Those uninitiated would look at speed while experts discerned the way. Chef Wang was not as skilled as Chef Luo. Although Chef Luo was young, he handled the ingredients well. He also had a unique understanding of the combinations and possible interactions each ingredient might have on another. His technique was strong yet supple, like a dance shared by a dragon and phoenix, far more impressive than Chef Wang's more traditional skill set involving the four main techniques of Ming Dynasty cooking. Chef Wang scored a 9.8, while Chef Luo only got a 9-4. He Jing got up, saying, "Third brother, enjoy the rest of the show. I'm heading to bed." He Zhou thought that He Jing would force an argument or change her words to please him. Neither of those outcomes came to pass, and it caught him flat-footed. He did not expect her to respond to his provocation by saying she was off to bed, changing the topic as if his words were irrelevant. "Wait a minute." He Zhou called out to her. "Didn't you want to learn how to cook? Would you like to start now?" He Jing's eyes narrowed, her head tilted thoughtfully. "Fine by me." The two of them entered the kitchen together. He Sui had just finished washing the dishes when he saw He Jing carrying a large bag of ingredients and following He Zhou. Astonished, he watched with mouth agape as He Jing removed ingredients from the plastic bag. "What's going on?" he demanded. "I'm learning how to cook," He Jing replied. "You're crazy." He Sui cried in shock. "We've just eaten." In a deliberate show of authority, He Zhou told He Sui, "If you have nothing better to do, perhaps you should step out for a bit." He Sui was displeased by the tone He Zhou had taken with him. He Jing was a girl. It was one thing for a woman to be willful and mischievous but quite another for a man to slip into irrationality. "I'll whip up some beef meatballs for you as a late-night snack," He Jing said. "I." He Sui's expression quickly changed. "Be my guest." He Zhou took in the scene and had a deeper understanding of how He Jing had managed to sway He Sui to her side. It seemed she had been bribing him with food. That's right, He Sui was a glutton. Put a little bit of meat in front of him, and he could be led astray far too easily. One could say he was the most innocent in the family. He Ling divided each ingredient into 2 portions. One for herself and one for He Zhou. "Third brother, what will you be teaching me?" He Zhou eyed the large slabs of beef tenderloin and announced what they would be cooking. "We'll be cooking Western cuisine. But don't you specialize in Chinese cooking?" He Jing inquired, giving He Zhou a strange look. With the He family's financial situation, the only Western food they could afford was vegetable salad and mashed potatoes. How could he have had experience cooking steaks? "My experience is enough to teach you," He Zhou answered. He Jing was speechless. A short silence ensued, eventually broken by He Jing. "Very well. I'll watch and learn from you, third brother." He Zhou was pretty confident in his ability to cook steaks. While helping his aunt, he occasionally snuck a few glances at the old man frying burgers next door, memorizing the steps needed to cook them. He Zhou did not believe his steaks would be inferior to those served at restaurants. Pan-frying steaks might look easy, but it was not. It was the perfect dish for him to make a fool of He Jing. One had to maintain strict control over the fire, cooking the meat evenly on both sides. Too little and they would be eating raw steak, too much and the meat would turn leathery. He Zhou smirked, satisfied with his little scheme. He Jing watched as He Zhou prepared the steak, cleaning off the excess blood and tenderizing the meat with the edge of his chopping knife. Afterward, he threw the beef tenderloin into the hot oil. 5 minutes later, He Zhou scooped the steak out of the hot oil, plating it. Chapter 96, What's Missing? Chapter 96, What's Missing? It took all the force of will He Sui could muster to stop himself from lunging at the food. Let me try. He Sui plucked He Zhou's steak from its plate and took a big bite. His eyes lit up. It's delicious. He Sui's excitement was so great it attracted the attention of the rest of the He family. He Ning, who was in his room, and He Xiaogua, who was doing his homework in the living room, were startled by his cry and quickly crowded around him. When he saw the steak He Sui was eating on his own, He Xiaogua began tugging at He Sui's trousers, pouting cutely, "Fourth brother, I want some too." He Sui gritted his teeth in reluctance but still divided the steak, cutting it into small pieces. He Xiaogua could not wait to get his share and immediately snagged a piece. Meanwhile, He Ning picked up a pair of chopsticks and helped himself to a piece. He turned to He Zhou and asked, "Did you make it?" "I did," He Zhou answered. "Your cooking has improved again," He Ning commented lightly. Such a juicy steak would not be out of place in an authentic Western restaurant. He Zhou had always been a talented cook. Perhaps it would be wise to encourage him to develop his skills further. He Ning picked up a piece of the steak and stuffed it in He Jing's mouth. He Jing chewed slowly, savoring the taste and texture like a true blue connoisseur of Western cuisine. A crack formed on He Zhou's impassive mask. His eyes chilled, and his tone became curt. "Are you saying I didn't do a good job?" "No," He Jing said seriously, "it's just missing a little something." He Sui, whose mouth was smeared with oil stains, smiled when he heard that. "He Jing, there's no need to pretend it isn't good. If you think you're so capable, why don't you try cooking a steak for us to compare?" He Zhou recovered, patching the holes in his cracked facade. "I won't tell you what you can or cannot do. You may do as you please." There was no way He Jing would cook a better steak. Expressionlessly, He Jing began processing the ingredients. She rolled up her sleeves and cleaned her chosen steak, rinsing it in water and toweling it dry before seasoning it with salt and pepper. Meanwhile, she heated a pan and drizzled some oil before searing the steak evenly on both sides. Her hands were not idle as she prepared the steak. She also spent some time preparing the sauce that would go with it. 4 pairs of eyes watched in stunned silence. He Jing's quick, efficient movements and skillful technique showed she had plenty of experience cooking. No one expected her to have been telling the truth when she said she knew how to cook. At this moment, a beautiful young woman stood in front of the pan, her silhouette seemingly painting the picture of a socialite in her element. Anyone who saw her would compare her to a 3-star Michelin chef. Her fingers danced, jumping from one ingredient to another, finally stopping on a particular white mushroom with a distinct note of nobility. She sautéed onions in a pan before adding a generous amount of white wine and the mushrooms she had sliced earlier. She removed the onions and mushrooms, setting them aside for later. They would be the garnish. Soon after she had added the mushrooms, she poured in fresh cream and stirred to thicken the sauce. The smell it produced was divine. He Jing's skillful handling of several ingredients put He Zhou's to shame, there could be no doubt. He Jing plated the steak, garnishing it with the sautéed onions and mushrooms she had kept. She drizzled the sauce over the steak, completing her dish. When He Jing presented the final product to those present, she was met with pin-drop silence. He Xiaogua discarded the piece of He Zhou's steak he was about to gobble up, returning it to the dish He Sui had in hand. He Sui gulped. Even the ever-cold He Ning looked moved. Only He Zhou seemed gloomy. As if waking from a dream, He Sui broke the silence. He feigned maturity by saying, "It's not beauty but how it tastes that counts. I've never eaten anything more delicious than third brother's steak." He Xiaogua frowned. He did not want to humiliate He Zhou, but he could not resist the temptation of the delicious food. He chewed on his index finger, wondering what he should do. In the end, it was He Ning who stepped up to the plate, breaking the stalemate. "I'll sample it." He cut off a small piece of the steak, the beautiful dish so immaculate that he almost could not bear to destroy it. "How is it?" He Sui asked nervously. 3 seconds later. "It's not delicious." Chapter 97, Chapter 97, Why are you keeping everything to yourself? Chapter 97, Why are you keeping everything to yourself? No way, really. He Sui had just spoken casually, trying to give He Zhou a way out. Who could have known He Jing would take up the challenge and employ strange fancy techniques only to create something unsatisfactory? That did not sound right. He Sui did not believe He Ning and said, "Let me try." He Ning merely frowned, remaining motionless. He admonished with what felt like forced indifference, "You shouldn't overeat at night, it's bad for digestion." He Jing coughed, doing her best to suppress her laughter. He Ning's reaction spoke volumes in and of itself. Suspicion took root in He Suit's heart. "No. I must try it," he insisted, daring He Ning to say otherwise. He Ning cut off a tiny piece for him, his calm demeanor unchanging as the waters of a still lake. The piece of steak disappeared down He Sui's throat in one bite. He Xiaoguo looked up, his large grape-like eyes peering at his older brother with angelic curiosity. "Fourth brother, how is it?" "But I don't want to," He Xiaoguo whined, hugging He Sui's thigh, a tantrum brewing in his wake. "Fourth brother, I want to try it too." "What do you mean you want to try it? You had so much to eat earlier. If you ate any more, we wouldn't be able to sleep. Be good and go to your room." "Okay," He Xiaoguo could not hide his disappointment. Reluctantly, he did as he was told, stepping out of the kitchen. He Zhou heaved a sigh of relief when He Ning declared He Jing's steak disgusting. He turned to He Jing, his confidence restored and plastered on a smile oozing arrogance. "Second brother and fourth brother have spoken, your cooking isn't delicious. It seems I'm still the better cook." He Jing was not embarrassed by the verdict. Instead, she smiled obsequiously, saying, "Third brother is still the best, I admit defeat." He Zhou's eyes narrowed. Something did not feel right. He eyed He Ning, who still seemed as aloof as ever, and He Sui, who still wore an expression of abject disdain. Nothing seemed wrong there. Could he be overthinking things? "Third brother, will you be continuing our lesson?" He Jing asked. He Zhou had lost interest in teaching He Jing. He scoffed and stepped out without another word. A curious silence descended on the remaining three. Looks were shared, and then dash. "Second brother. You want to eat all of it yourself. You're too shameless." He Sui may have voiced his displeasure, but he was cautious enough to keep his voice as low as possible. If he had not reacted as quickly as he did earlier, he would not have been able to deceive He Ning. "Aren't you the same?" He Ning sneered. He even fooled his younger brother. "Do either of you have to fight?" He Jing laughed. "Why wouldn't we?" He Sui snapped. They had never eaten anything so delicious in their lives. Otherwise, how could the normally reserved He Ning lose control of himself? He Sui glared at He Ning. He Ning had already eaten more than half of the steak while dealing with He Zhou and He Jing. He Sui could not let He Ning finish the rest and tried snatching the food from his hands. He Ning pouted and pointed at the half-eaten steak He Zhou had made. He said, "It's shameful to waste." "No, I want to eat this too." He would not cede his claim over the food to He Ning. He Ning dodged He Sui's initial lunge and kept a wary distance from his sibling. A fight over the steak ensued, causing pots and pans to rattle and tumble. He Jing tried to speak sense into them, but nothing worked. She shook her head speechlessly and prepared for bed. She was greeted by He Zhou, who stood just outside the kitchen. His back was against the light, shrouding his face in shadows. His expression was hard to distinguish, but the frightening aura around him was unmistakable. Before He Jing could say anything, He Sui spun around, having felt a chill run down his spine. He came face to face with He Zhou's menacing figure and found himself tongue-tied. Third brother. Part 4 of the series ends here. Thank you for watching and listening. If you find it interesting, please give us a like, a comment and a subscription so that we have the motivation to make the next videos.